off the field.
505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space.
And you can be part of it.
Try this shit better than all my intentions. Locked in shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
If you're drunk, blasted, intoxicated, rip, plastered, destroyed, bruh. If you're like this, you shouldn't be driving.
Preseason, mostly backups will be featured, a few position battles left, but at some point in time, you do have to feel a sense of urgency. You need your team together. You need to have things figured out at least as much as you can ahead of week one, and then it raises the giant question, what is an elite wide receiver worth? When do you feel the urgency to get one of the best wide receivers in the game signed and into camp practicing with your football team, and really what difference does that make? Is it all about finding the quarterback and then everything else will fall in place? And if you think you have the quarterback, is that why? Maybe the urgency is not there for one Jerry Jones and CeeDee Lamb. What it do, and welcome into the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck, we got our quarterback, Ned James, in studio this morning. Jerry holding it down, producing Adrian on Pro View Network. So the saga continues, as Cowboys owner Jerry Jones said yesterday. The sides are having promising talks regarding a contract extension. CeeDee Lamb, he's a good wide receiver. CeeDee Lamb is going to be in the vicinity of Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra, St. Brown when it comes to yearly salary, guaranteed money. But for some reason, the Cowboys just don't want to find a point where they can come together with CeeDee Lamb. But my question to you this morning, Mr. Ned James, is does Jerry Jones think he has one of these quarterbacks that, regardless of who's out there, is going to be competitive? Because I want to take a look, too. Let's just say at the Super Bowl odds for this season and kind of build where these teams are versus what they have. So, no surprise, the best odds are the Kansas City Chiefs, looking for 3 in a row. If you look at BetMGM, they're plus 500. Right behind them is San Francisco 49ers plus 600. And you look at Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, no argument there. He's locked in. San Francisco, you have Brock Purdy, who's elevated by playmakers. And then the other teams are interesting because you have the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson, MVP quarterback. And the Detroit Lions are a team that's just invested in Amon-Ra, St. Brown, but Jared Goff, showing you can get a team to a Super Bowl. You have Philadelphia with 2 high-paid wide receivers. You have the Houston Texans with an interesting wide receiver group, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs-Sankdell with C.J. Stroud. Josh Allen, who doesn't have an elite wide receiver, but we believe in Josh Allen. So I'm running down all these teams because I'm asking you, what matters? Well, it's the quarterback. But these quarterbacks then are elevated to another level when you have an elite wide receiver. Right. And when you look at the CeeDee Lamb situation, I'm on board with Dak Prescott being a good quarterback. Does he have to prove it in the postseason more? Absolutely. And I think Jerry Jones still hurts from that loss to the Green Bay Packers at home in the playoffs last year. But of all the things to complicate your offseason, of all the things to make difficult, this seems like this would be one that you don't need. You have a good quarterback and elite level wide receiver that are going to elevate each other in an offense that you don't really have a lot to lean back on. So what do you think this? Do you think this is just Jerry Jones knows best? This is what we see. This is what we do. And how dare CeeDee Lamb say no to my $33 million per year? How dare CeeDee Lamb say, hey, I want my guarantees to be more than Amon-Ra St. Brown in line with Justin Jefferson? Do you think that's what this is Jerry Jones saying, you will not dictate what I will pay you?
Well, it's just business, man. It's business, man. A lot of people get upset and they get worried about, how the team is going to perform based on these contract issues that come up every year. Every team has them. Everyone has a diva that thinks they're worth more than maybe ownership or management or even the coaching staff may believe that they're worth. And so you have these stalemates. You have these contract disputes, whether you're holding in or holding out. The hold in thing is kind of interesting with players being at practice. I think it's really rare that you see a guy hold in, that guys are in camp, in the case of Ayuk and Cincinnati.
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase, yeah. Who I think is, out of all of them, the best. And so it's going to be interesting. The business part of it, a lot of people don't really understand. A lot of people don't really they don't really necessarily empathize because they believe these guys make too much money anyway, but it's the business of sport. And, a lot of times it's not really a smooth transition. And, one of the things with guys that are not holding in, and I think the holding in thing is really unique, which is really good because you can kind of gauge what kind of shape a guy is in. Those holdouts, those guys that are not there, these soft tissue issues that come up with wide receivers in particular, it's real. It happens a lot with guys that aren't in training camp. I know guys get hurt in camp and they get hurt in the preseason, but it's you give a guy a bunch of money and then all of a sudden he comes in, he's got hamstring issues, he's got quad issues, whatever. It's going to be hard for the Dallas Cowboys, and I like this Dallas Cowboy team. I really like how it's constructed.
You do
with the staff, yeah. One of the things I'm always a fan of is when the quarterback and the head coach get along. People don't think much about that, but that's important. And,
we might have been talking
Dallas,
a little bit about that this week.
Yeah, but Dallas is done a good job with that, and that's why they've been successful. They haven't had the success in the playoffs. I like Zimmer coming in as a defense coordinator. I think he's better than the guy they had last year.
Better than Dan Quinn.
Yes, better than Quinn. I like Zimmer. I'm a Zimmer fan. And so I think they've got all the pieces. It's just a matter of putting it all together. I like McCarthy. And this will be, a lot of people start screaming when I say this. I rank McCarthy probably as the second best coach in the NFL. Now, this is debatable, but we can debate it. But as far as coaching goes, I like McCarthy as a head coach. And despite the social justice stuff with Jerry Jones, I think he's probably one of the best owners in the NFL. It's one of those interesting things with the Dallas Cowboys. People get, in their feelings because it's America's team. They don't want it to be America's team because Kansas City keeps winning. But at the same time, they've done a pretty good job with winning. It's just the playoffs and the Super Bowl stuff hasn't been around in a couple decades.
In a while. The thing, too, I want to get to with the CeeDee Lamb stuff is, do you need an elite wide receiver? When you look at how the game is played now, when you look at who's competing at the highest level, that there's teams that don't have one, but their quarterback might be to a different level. Because you look at Baltimore, well, and Mark Andrews, they've invested their first-round pick last year in Zay Flowers, so they have enough there. Signed Derrick Henry in the offseason. I mentioned Josh Allen. To me, he's an elite quarterback. So even with Stephon Diggs moving on, I look at, you drafted Keon Coleman, first pick of the second round, Dalton Kincaid, first-round pick last year. There's enough talent there. The Cowboys are the team I'm looking at. And if you don't have CeeDee Lamb, I don't think Dak Prescott's that guy. I don't think Dak Prescott is keeping you competitive, sniffing at potentially winning double-digit games again if you don't have him in there. And so when we talk about building teams, who do you invest in? This is an easy one to me, and this is where I'm with you. The answer is yes. This is one where Jerry Jones obviously trusts Dak Prescott enough to not be worried about CeeDee Lamb, but he needs to up that urgency at this point in time because they're the one team. I look at this list and you go down and then you see the Cowboys there, plus 1,800 behind teams like the Packers, Jets, Bengals, right sandwiched around the Falcons and Rams. And all those teams have a skill position group that stands out. All those teams have something to lean on. Without CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys don't have anything to lean on.
Yeah, and CeeDee Lamb's an elite player. I mean, you always need great players, and everyone's not a great player. CeeDee Lamb's a great player. When you have all pros and Pro Bowl guys, you need those guys. Those guys are important to your team, and obviously he's a very important receiver for this team. That you just can't plug and play a guy. A number one receiver, every team has one. And as far as the quarterback goes, every team that's really good has a really good receiver. I mean, you can't just say these quarterbacks are special and they don't have a number one or good receiver.
It's absolutely the only one that you trust in to win regardless has been Patrick Mahomes, but there's still always been that guy with him.
Right.
There's Travis Kelce.
And it falls back on the coach. I mean, maybe Jerry trusts.
Who's your number one?
McCarthy, huh?
So who's your number one head coach? You're saying you like the way things are set up. You just said Mike McCarthy.
Well, Andy Reid obviously is number one, but I think McCarthy's too. I mean, I would debate and argue with anyone. I mean, I know people love the Sean McVays and all these other guys that are, supposedly boy wonders and all this other stuff, but McCarthy's got the skins on the wall. He's won. He's been 12-4. Now, the playoff success has not been there, but he's been successful everywhere he's been, and he's been successful in Dallas. It's just, they haven't done as much in the playoffs, and that's what's kind of hurt them. But I think, they have everything in place. I mean, I like this Dallas Cowboy team. It's just that it's, there's always a lot of noise coming out of Dallas because of the owner. And, in this situation, they didn't pick up anybody really big in free agency. And now they have the CeeDee Lamb problem with the holdout. But if he comes back, I mean, I just like their chances because I like Zimmer. I know a lot of people are worried about their defense this year because of the personnel. But everybody's got problems. Everybody's got issues. So we'll see.
You got issues, but that's one of the things we'll be discussing today as we get closer to the start of the season. When you look at Super Bowl contenders, teams that will be competing to win their conference, the elite wide receiver value, paying wide receivers versus the quarterback. This offseason, we saw Amon-Ra St. Brown get paid for the Lions. We've seen a team like the Philadelphia Eagles up A.J. Brown, pay Devontae Smith. So the teams with the best odds are pairing their quarterback with an elite player. And Dallas Cowboys without CeeDee Lamb, well, urgency is needed because then their odds begin to drop dramatically because they don't have that combo. But as a football fan, what do you think is more important? Is it just leaning on the quarterback? How much do you want to pay these wide receivers? Because an interesting team in this to me is when you're talking about elite wide receiver talent, what's the Minnesota Vikings? They have that guy. They have one of those dudes. But right now, they're not favored. They're not a team that people think are going to have big things because then it's that balance. So it's always fascinating. I like the roster discussion because we do get caught up on contracts and how much these guys are making and how much you're paying your quarterback. But when you have that right match, why are you making it so difficult? Keep it simple. But that's also just goes along with Jerry Jones being Jerry Jones and the Cowboys being the Dallas Cowboys. 505-246-0610. That is the Sports Animal Hotline and text line this morning. Well, you mentioned Jamar Chase, who has been a quiet holdout. They've said maybe it's due to injury, hasn't been participating. No, it's because he wants a contract extension. But Cincinnati gave out a contract extension over the weekend. Who was it to? And how would that make your best wide receiver feel? Because we'll continue to talk about the impact an elite wide receiver has with their quarterback when it comes to making a run in the NFL. We got Ned James. I'm JJ Buck. Jerry holding it down, producing Adrian on ProView. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. Here.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Hi, I'm Steve Stucker here for Dr. Robert Melendez and the Juliet Eye Institute. You may remember me like this, but no more. The glasses are gone. I tossed them months ago because of a brand new procedure from Dr. Melendez known as RLE, Refractive Lens Exchange. The latest technology, the best eyesight I've ever had in my life, and you can check it out by clicking on the link in the description right here.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Mirror here.
And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team's going through some changes, but we're here to stay.
We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field.
505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space.
And you can be part of it.
Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Locked in, shorty, you got my attention. See your baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
What's going on?
Who are you guys?
Well, sir, I'm going to pick you up at the DWI checkpoint for drunk driving.
And that's when I have to come down to get you out of jail.
Well, temporarily. I'm Judge Torres. They call him the Hammer. Hey, hot off the presses, champ.
I'm real proud of you, honey.
Way to make them happy back home, Captain. Who's that? That's your new buddy in jail.
Young driver, this one. Hard to get her out. She'd been drinking. This one. Both of them gone. They'd been drinking, and he drove clear off the road. This was my family. Drunk driver hit us. And my wife and our daughter, they didn't make it.
Hey, look! It's Dwight Goodman!
Boom! This place is hot. Let's see if anyone needs my help. How about I drive you madman home, huh?
I got this, Dwight. I'm the designated driver. Boom.
Sweet. Does anyone need Dwight's help getting home tonight?
No thanks, Romeo. I've got a taxi all lined up.
Drive safe, Dwight.
Boom! Boom!
These days, it's important to know people and businesses you can trust. There's a lot of places where you can buy a vehicle, but there's only a few local dealerships where you'll find honest people who have your best interests in mind. And Fiesta Kia is one of them. We've been helping our neighbors save money and drive dependable cars for years, and we'd love to help you. With new Kias arriving daily, you'll love our selection and the peace of mind you'll get driving a Kia from Fiesta. So stop by and see us today at Fiesta Kia on Lomas, or just start driving now at fiestakia.com.
Burglary takes place in the United States approximately every 15 seconds. International Protective Service is your answer for commercial and residential security in all of Albuquerque. IPS will work with your monitoring company for fast, reliable response times. You can rest easy knowing you, your family, or your company is watched over by International Protective Service. Call International Protective Service today.
Young driver, this one. Hard to get her out. She'd been drinking. This one. Both of them gone. They'd been drinking, and he drove clear off the road. This was my family. Drunk driver hit us. And my wife and our daughter, they didn't make it.
Wide receiver position, those are the big money contracts for skill players. Those are the big guaranteed dollars, not the running backs. We're not paying running backs that way. But what do you need? How do you compete at this level? Yes, it starts with quarterback. Then you protect the quarterback. But that quarterback needs playmakers. And I think when you look at the Super Bowl contenders, yes, the odds going into the season, it is a lot of fun trying to break down what do you need, the right pairing. Some of it seems so simple. Like Jerry Jones, just pay CeeDee Lamb. He makes Dak Prescott that much better. Your offense doesn't have a lot to fall back on. Now, if a team like the Cincinnati Bengals, they paid someone over the weekend. They know they got that guy, Joe Burrow, who's got his contract extension, who has a Super Bowl appearance. They're paying players, but they didn't pay the one you think should get paid and wants to get paid. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. JJ Buck joined by our quarterback, Ned James, this morning. So the Cincinnati Bengals are a team that if Joe Burrow is on the field, you believe that they can play with and beat the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. We've seen it. Been there, done that. Well, Jamar Chase and kicker Evan McPherson, they just happen to be drafted the same year, both eligible for new contracts. And guess what? The Bengals gave the kicker the contract over the weekend, Evan McPherson. And, you know,
kickers.
Things still linger. And it's still the Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, they paid Joe Burrow, but they're not going to be quick to be handing out hundreds of millions of dollars to multiple players. And got Joe Burrow in there. And we saw it with T. Higgins. Is that right, T? Cool story. You want a contract extension? Here's a franchise tag. Yeah. And then you're a free agent after the season.
I consider the Cincinnati Bengals the cheapest organization in the NFL. And trust me, I know Marvin Lewis. I know a lot of people have been through Hugh. All those guys have been through that organization. And as an organization itself, the Cincinnati Bengals are probably the cheapest organization. And I've caught some people before because I said, this just goes to show you anybody could go to the Super Bowl in the NFL. Because if the Cincinnati Bengals could go the way they are operated, anybody should be able to go to the Super Bowl. And so I listening to you talk about this fantasy football is just fascinating to me. Because I think a fantasy football champion, because you're really good at this fantasy. I don't do the fantasy football stuff. But I think you fantasy football guys should be in these front offices.
Absolutely.
With these GMs to help them determine how to put a team together. Because I think, the way it's scored and the way you guys, understand the nuances of what value each player has, I think it's just fantastic.
I'm an armchair general manager.
Yes, you are.
I'm an armchair quarterback. I should be working in NFL by now.
That's right.
Glad someone agrees with me finally.
But it's not only that, it's just fantasy football and guys get upset about you guys criticizing these players because they're not giving you enough points every weekend. But I do think there is merit to what you fantasy football players do in so much as how you value guys and how important certain positions are based on their productivity. And that's all general managers are doing. They're guessing as well. And they're giving out dollars as a result of it. So, I think it's great that's why I just enjoy hearing you talk fantasy football stuff, because I do think it is important. And I think it has merit in so much as how our players are really perceived in front offices at times. And, guys, you watch this Hard Knock stuff with the offseason. I thought it was just great. I thought that the look inside who these GMs are and how they rose up through the ranks and just essentially went from, carrying the water to all of a sudden now making these multi-million-dollar deals, these guys, I mean, in a matter of just a decade. So it's just, it's like I said, most of these guys are fantasy football guys anyway. They're just speculating. There's relationships that are involved sometimes. It's just like with the New York Giants guy. He just didn't have a relationship with Saquon Barkley. And he really didn't feel what the owner was feeling, which was incredible to me because I know the Mara brothers that I'd worked with Chris before, to see the new GM essentially, tell the owner, well, look, I don't think he's as valuable as this quarterback. It was just incredible, even though the owner was saying, hey, this is the most popular guy we've had in a long time here. And they moved off of him and went in a different direction. And so, I just think, with this receiver stuff, I think it's something that, bears watching and the value of these guys. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to cost a lot of money, but I think what is interesting in this is these are simple conversations. Like CeeDee Lamb, even Jamar Chase. Because I get you still have potentially 2 years of control on Jamar Chase. Because you're in the 4th year and then the 5th year rookie option for a first-round pick. I understand that. I think if we've used the word a lot this morning, it's because we're talking about elite players. Like it's a word that I do think should be reserved for just the top few at each position. And the guys we're talking about, whether it's CeeDee Lamb in Dallas, Jamar Chase in Cincinnati, fit that bill. And it's just really fascinating to me seeing how some of these owners are thinking and how they're functioning. Because if you're in Cincinnati, you're like, wait a second, got 2 years of control on you. I just paid Joe Burrow. I've seen us get to the Super Bowl. We're fine. But I think we are missing the point with some of these negotiations is even if you're early, you are still ahead of it.
Yes.
Because all that does is elite players, their price tag is going to go up. And so you're going to make it even more of a headache for yourself
down the
moving
road.
on if you wait. And a good point in this is, say, look at someone like Josh Allen, who you think Josh Allen is in the conversation for top 3, top 4 quarterback in the NFL right now. If we're throwing the word elite around, that would be Josh Allen. Well, guess what? Josh Allen's payday just happened to come 3 years ago, getting his big contract extension with Buffalo, $258 million extension, making $43 million per year. And you know what? That's only the 13th highest salary now at the quarterback position.
Inflation is something, isn't it?
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
So Josh Allen per year average. Now we know what the contracts, and I've been saying it a lot, it's the guaranteed money. That is the end all be all. Not necessarily the annual average value of it, but still when you think about Josh Allen making $43 million per year as the 13th highest paid quarterback, well, you're like, well, then this guy is going to come out there and say, pay me more money. But Josh Allen said this week, he's happy. He understands when he signed his deal, 28 years old, he knows that he's going to sign another big deal. So he's not worried about it. So that feels good if you're Buffalo Bills fans. Well, I'm bringing Josh Allen in this conversation to say when we're discussing these offseason contracts, and it can be frustrating, and this is stuff that makes your head spin as a fan. You're like, all right, guys asking for more money. Oh, $33 million is not good enough, CD. You need $35 million per year. I understand it. But it's about getting it done. When you have guys that we're not having this debate like we were with Tua. It was like, oh, is he worth it? Do you want to give him $55 million per year? How do you want to structure these contracts? When you have these easy ones, get it done and move on. Don't make it harder on yourself, but then you're seeing a little bit of Jerry Jones being Jerry Jones and why people believe the Dallas Cowboys can't get out of their own way. Cincinnati still having some of that mindset of, despite hitting an absolute home run of selecting Joe Burrow, of having that success, kind of still being hesitant. Go, oh, we paid one guy a lot of money, can't pay other players. Because if you wait on elite talent, that number is going to go up, and you're just going to make things more difficult on yourself. Because I absolutely would want to get Jamar Chase done and out of the way now. Because right now we're looking at $35 million per year for wide receivers. You could say, all right, we're going to wait, and you're going to play out your 5 years. Well, then you're going to be looking at maybe $50 million per year for that dude.
And this is coming to college sports, just so you know, ladies and gentlemen.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there later on. But, you pay them now because inflation. The price of tea is not going down. It's going up. So you better get your ducks aligned, because if you're not ready for these elite players, then, you're going to wind up losing them, or you're going to wind up having a problem with them not showing up till almost, a couple games into
not
the
showing
season.
up. You're already going to be battling the cap numbers because quarterback contracts, skill position contracts, keep it simple. These are easy things that are lingering when we're talking about elite players to this point in time, which I know raises so much frustration with certain fan bases. 505-246-0610. How do you feel about what you would do with some of these players, whether it's Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Ayuk, when it comes to building a team? What would you focus on when it comes to guys getting paid, getting contract extensions, play general manager? Because I know you do it every day. It's what we do. Armchair GM and armchair quarterbacks. That's why we love the game. 505-246-0610. We come back on the other side. We'll talk about developing the quarterback. So Tua had his day. He went off on his former head coach, Brian Flores, earlier this week. And Brian Flores responded yesterday. I don't think there's someone that's a winner or who's right, who's wrong, but it does raise the question of building young quarterbacks How do you do it in the NFL? What should you do if you're in that situation? We'll tell you what Brian Flores said and look at what happens with young quarterbacks in the NFL. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction safety company is helping our men and women in construction get home safe every day to their families. Indeed Safety is a proud supporter of ProView Network.
Young driver, this one. Hard to get her out. She'd been drinking. This one. Both of them gone. They'd been drinking, and he drove clear off the road. This was my family. Drunk driver hit us. And my wife and our daughter, they didn't make it.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
Teenagers love a party, especially during prom and graduation season. Often, alcohol is involved. Some parents think that hosting a party with alcohol in their home will keep the kids safe, but it's wrong and it's illegal. As a parent, to allow your teenagers' underage friends to consume alcohol on your property is a felony. Parents who host lose the most. Don't be a party to teenage drinking.
This is a program of the Drug Free Action Alliance. For more information, go to burnco.gov/do-not-host.
If you're drunk, blasted, intoxicated, rip, plastered, taint, destroyed, bruh. If you're like this, you shouldn't be driving.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
Hi, I'm Steve Stunker here for Dr. Robert Melendez and the Juliet Eye Institute. You may remember me like this, but no more. The glasses are gone. I tossed them months ago because of a brand new procedure from Dr. Melendez known as RLE, Refractive Lens Exchange. The latest technology, the best eyesight I've ever had in my life, and you can check it out by clicking on the link in the description right here.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
If you're drunk, blasted, intoxicated, rip, plastered, taint, destroyed, bruh. If you're like this, you shouldn't be driving.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420.
Up, you're going to work, and the person said you didn't belong and you sucked, and it destroyed Tua's confidence. Well, Brian Flores finally had the opportunity to respond, and I thought he was honest and he was open about it. And as opposed to Brian Flores being some terrible person, I think it was a coaching style where he realized, no, he can't be that guy. There's really only one guy, and it's the guy that is atop of a dead coaching tree, but it goes back to Bill Belichick. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610. The Sports Animal, JJ Buck, joined by our quarterback, Ned James, who's been in these rooms, been in these locker rooms, been in these NFL facilities. Look at 2 years. Tua and Brian Flores. They won games. But, there's the Ryan Fitzpatrick stuff that was in there. There's some injuries for Tua. So Tua had his time, and he went off. And he did not like Brian Flores, did not really help him develop as a quarterback. And essentially, yes, it goes back to, Brian Flores was just a terrible person. Well, Brian Flores, who's the defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings, had the opportunity yesterday to respond to those comments, to that interview that came out this week. And he said, quote, "I'm genuinely happy for the success that Tua has had, and I really wish him nothing but the best." And then he went on to say, "I think part of coaching is correcting. I'm always going to correct. I'm always going to have a high standard." And I think, look, I've done a lot of reflecting on the situation and communication. I think there's things that I could do better for sure, and I've grown in that way. And I've tried to apply those things that I could do better and the things that I've learned over the last 2-3 years. End quote. And I can see this being a situation of, Brian Flores came in and said, "I'm going to be this hard-nosed, super old-school guy, push you to the limit, challenge you on absolutely everything." Doesn't feel like there was much positive reinforcement from Brian Flores. Fine, that's his attitude, and it didn't work. And as opposed to Brian Flores being some terrible person or Tua being too soft, I just think this were two styles that did not mesh. Like the way Tua is constructed. We see this guy can perform in the NFL. We just led the league in passing yards. We've seen him do it on the biggest stage in college football,
right,
with the lights on and the most pressure you can have.
With a tough coach.
Tough coach in Nick Saban. To me, this is just one where it was just absolutely oil and water. Two things did not mesh. And for Tua, and we've all had a boss where we just, it didn't get along. And then you felt like, oh, this dude's out to get me. This dude is such a bozo. And it's just two things that didn't mesh. Yeah. And I do think, though, Brian Flores probably did learn and has corrected some things, understanding like that.
Sure.
Like, you just can't be that guy without that success. Like everyone says, Bill Belichick was really hard. Well, look at all those guys that tried to pretend to be Belichick. Ain't quite working out. And that's what I think ultimately this was. It's just two styles that didn't mesh. Both learned and both moved on from the situation.
Yeah, and, like you said, it became personal. It's a personal attack, I believe, that Tua made on the former head coach. And, you have to be careful when you make these personal attacks. And I think once Tua got the bag, he made these statements. I mean, he didn't make these statements before. He got the bag. So he's got this big contract. And so now, he's able to be a little bit more vocal in his comments about, previous, relationships and whatnot. And, I know we talked a little bit about off the air about it. It's just it's a generational thing. And, you become like your oppressor. And, Flores worked for Belichick. And so he takes on some of that persona because that's who you worked for. That's who you learned. And it's kind of an old school style. And we talked off the air a little bit about me, being over the cultural center saying, and you can't say, you're being sensitive anymore to the kids. It's something that they can't, for some reason you can't use that term to describe someone's psychological attitude or behavior. And it's just it's a change in the times. And, in a different era when we grew up and and like Tua's, saying that the guy was a terrible person because he told him every day he was bad. We grew up in that era. It's that, I don't know, it's that, the Puritan way, I guess. I don't know, but we were always told, hey, you're not worth anything. It was called tough love. And you were expected to be able to handle it like a man. And it was funny. I was talking to a guy the other day. I said, it's interesting. These, you can't even curse at the kids. I said, I remember coming off the field. There's 25,000 people in the stands getting smacked upside the head, saying, "Hey, you missed the read." And you could never do that nowadays. You can't curse a kid and do that kind of stuff. And it's a generational thing. And I'm not being I'm being a little nostalgic in some ways, and you're thinking that was okay to do that. But in some ways, this new age, and you have to adjust with the times. It's different. And Flores and some of those guys that were raised by these old school teachings. And just like the spanking, you're not supposed to spank your kids. You're supposed to talk to little Johnny. It's just that kind of a thing. I think that maybe Tua, and a part of it was the personality of Flores. I just think it just didn't mesh well. And I think Tua, I can't say he's being a little sensitive. But
I think you bring up a good point is now that he's comfortable,
right?
He's having this conversation. He wasn't having this conversation last year.
Right.
He wasn't having this conversation 2 years ago. He's having it now.
Right.
And so that's where I'm just like, all right, you went after Brian Flores.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Brian Flores handled it very well. Just saying, hey, I learned from it. He understood that he can't be that guy because he doesn't have enough to back it up. And, even people, when they talk about Bill Belichick, wasn't always a rosy relationship with Tom Brady, but you're winning to a certain level, and then you kind of have those guys that can go back and forth. But what I want to do next is, all right, Tua, Brian Flores said their piece. Coaching style did not mesh with who Tua was as a quarterback trying to develop him. How should you work with young quarterbacks in this league? Is it on the coach or is it on the players to fit in with rookie development? Because there were some interesting questions that arose from this week, and people saying, should there essentially be a mandatory red shirt for rookie quarterbacks? Should you sit these guys for a certain amount of time before they play? And again, who's it on? Is it on the coach or is it on the player? We'll dive into that next. The opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Summertime. That's what it is, right? Hot, warm.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Hey, look! It's Dwight Goodman!
Boom! This place is hot. Let's see if anyone needs my help. How about I drive you madman home, huh?
I got this, Dwight. I'm the designated driver. Boom.
Sweet. Does anyone need Dwight's help getting home tonight?
No thanks, Romeo. I've got a taxi all lined up.
Drive safe, Dwight.
Boom! Boom!
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But it's the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Sprout, get ready!
My coach. My teacher. My older sisters. My grandma. My brother. My tutor. My dad and my mom.
As New Mexicans, it's up to all of us to do our part.
So that no child goes without love.
And no family has to do it all on their own.
They're all our children.
Every single person is called to make a difference in the life of a child.
It's up to all of us to do our part.
To pull together.
Pull together.
Pull together.
To make New Mexico the best place to be a kid.
Teenagers love a party, especially during prom and graduation season. Often, alcohol is involved. Some parents think that hosting a party with alcohol in their home will keep the kids safe, but it's wrong and it's illegal. As a parent, to allow your teenagers' underage friends to consume alcohol on your property is a felony. Parents who host lose the most. Don't be a party to teenage drinking.
This is a program of the Drug Free Action Alliance. For more information, go to burnco.gov/do-not-host.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Mirror here.
And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team's going through some changes, but we're here to stay.
We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field.
505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space.
And you can be part of it.
Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Locked in, shorty, you got my attention. See your baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
Young driver, this one. Hard to get her out. She'd been drinking. This one. Both of them gone. They'd been drinking, and he drove clear off the road. This was my family. Drunk driver hit us. And my wife and our daughter, they didn't make it.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is Pro View. From pros to prep. All your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on Pro View Networks.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Is it on the player? Is it on the coach? So we had the drama play out this week. Tua throwing Brian Flores under the bus. Flores, now the defense coordinator in Minnesota, responded. He said, all right, it didn't work. He had a guy that was too old school, that wore down Tua, and he needed his confidence rebuilt by Mike McDaniel. And if you're Miami, you made the right decision. You built up Tua. You paid him a ton of money this offseason. Now you have an owner that says, all right, I paid Tua. I paid Tyreek Hill. I paid Jalen Waddle. Let's get some of those postseason wins. So he's putting that pressure on you before the season starts. Talk about owners not talking. Everyone says, stop talking. Well, Stephen Ross talked. And he said, I paid you. I'll get to the Super Bowl. Well, when it comes to developing young quarterbacks, there's not a perfect way to do it. So how should you go about it? Because everything's a little bit different. It's the opening draft here on 95.9 FM, AM 610. The Sports Animal, JJ Buck, joined by our quarterback, Ned James, former Lobo quarterback coach, about everywhere you could. NFL Europe, JUCO, NFL, arena football. So you've been there, done that. Yeah. When it comes to players, coaches, and all this stuff, and especially development of players. To me, if you have a young quarterback, I don't think that there has to be a mandatory time that they sit, they don't play, because there's a lot of factors. It comes at where that guy is when he comes in. Because I was listening to a lot of stuff yesterday, people saying, teams should have the ability to sit a quarterback. Like, you should have a mandatory redshirt year. like saying things like they shouldn't even count towards the roster. You just draft the guy and sit him. But then you take a step back and go, this is pro sports. Like, what are we talking about? You need a redshirt season. If you don't want to play him, don't play him. You shouldn't be forced to not play rookie quarterback, because I just watched C.J. Stroud have an unbelievable season and change the entire franchise for Houston. Yeah, other guys struggle a little bit more. But when it comes to a young quarterback, is it on the player or is it on the coach to kind of figure it out, at least early on, for these rookie quarterbacks?
Well, I thought Brady talked about it a little bit. Brady makes really good sense because, he talked about the fact that these are college teams now and they're not college programs, because when you go into a program, you're allowed time to develop and you learn certain skills by repetition. And the more you do things, the better you get at it, the more you understand. The NFL game is totally different than the college game. People may think it's this, it's football, but it's different because the hash marks are in closer. You learn to play the quarterback position a little bit different. The quarterback is used a lot differently in a lot of pro schemes than they are in college schemes, and so that's why you need time in the program. Is how Brady, Tom Brady described it, in so much as that these young guys now are being thrust into these situations because the amount of money and the impatience of the owners with the amount of money that they're getting paid. And the fact that they're not being allowed to develop. Now, say a guy like C.J. Stroud has a great year, whoever comes in has a great year as a rookie. Yeah, sure, that's fine. Okay, now they got you on tape. Let's see how you progress the next year. And that's an issue. That's an issue because I think a lot of times, a young guy needs to sit a little bit and watch at that position because you need time to develop. You need time to understand the pro game. There's situations that come up in college that don't necessarily come up in the pros, and you need to watch and understand it. Just hearing it and saying, okay, I got it, and then going out and executing it are two different things, and I think you need time to do that.
I understand that, but it's also, at some point in time, like you either got it or you don't. And I think that quarterbacks in this league, the way that we address the quarterback position, we don't give guys some time. Because I know you watched it at Bryce Young last year. People were like, well, it's never going to get it. And so you do have the ultimate and a big extreme. So if a C.J. Stroud coming in right away, it's like, wow, oh my gosh. Playoff team, playoff win, unbelievable. And then thinking, well, Bryce Young was the worst pick ever. That was a swing and a miss. How did you pick Bryce Young over C.J. Stroud? So that's what I'm saying. There's not like a blueprint you can follow. But I do think it is a really interesting conversation because you look at, who do you need to lean on? Early on, you need to lean on the coach. Like, the coach has to be the one that figures it out. And that's why I think it's fascinating about the Flores-Tua situation is with a young quarterback, the coach has to be all in with that guy. Whether or not it's playing him right away or sitting him. And I think, watching a situation in New England is an interesting one because I don't know if Gerard Mayo has the right mindset to work with Drake May because he's one that he's been wishy-washy on it, and it's like you need to pick your lane. You need to say, all right, Jacoby Brissett's your starting quarterback. You say Jacoby Brissett's starting the season, and Drake May is gonna come along. And so that's why I think I look at these situations. The coach needs to take over. The coach needs to be one that does it, and also having that right pairing. Because I look at some of the young quarterbacks in the league right now. Say, C.J. Stroud, he had DeMarco Ryan, who was the defensive coordinator, defensive guy, but he came from Kyle Shanahan. And kind of that atmosphere of empowering the quarterback in the offense. And I'm blanking on Houston's OC, but he was a hot candidate.
Slowick, yeah.
Ben Slowick.
Yeah. And the one thing I would say about coaches now, and I think, people misunderstand it when you're talking about quarterbacks, because people put their quarterback poster up before the season starts and they, put some lipstick on and they kiss their quarterback poster because everybody loves the quarterback. Everybody thinks the quarterback is the almighty. Bill Belichick made the quarterback position not relevant. It's not important. It's not as important as any other position on the team. And so
it doesn't mean that he was right.
It does mean he's right because the guy is successful. Bill Belichick, whatever you want to say about him, the guy was successful.
Not without Tom Brady.
Well, or Tom Brady would not have been successful without Bill Belichick.
I saw Tom Brady win Super Bowl in Tampa Bay.
Well, Tom Brady got lucky and won one. The stars all aligned. Lucky. And he got lucky in Tampa, and we can go into that too. But at the same time, to me, when you're winning games, the offense is the least of your worries. Just don't screw it up on offense. defense is how you win games, and special teams is how you win championships. And Belichick understood that, and he developed his quarterback. He didn't make his quarterback the focal point of his team. The focal point of his team was the team. And that's why the New England Cheaters were able to win that many Super Bowls.
But nowadays, you're not winning if the quarterback's not the focal point of your team.
Okay, we can go into that. That's something we could look at. We could say nowadays. I mean, are we saying Ned James is just old school?
Yes.
He's being nostalgic. He said that was from a bygone era, and nowadays you only win, or you win primarily on offense and defense, and special teams don't matter. I beg to differ. I think you do have to have those other things. I do think the quarterback, however important, is not necessarily as important as all the other elements that go into winning a game, particularly in the NFL. And I will always stand by that. And I know the quarterback gets all the glory, and he's on the poster, and everybody's kissing their quarterback poster right now before the season starts, because that's who they think is going to take them to the Super Bowl on every team. But you have to have all those other elements. You have to have the coach.
It's still a team game.
Yeah.
But who's winning the Super Bowl right now? It's Patrick Mahomes. Who's trying to get there? It's
Andy Reid. I say Andy Reid, but you could say Patrick Mahomes. I say the kicker. I say the defense won that Super Bowl. They only scored 13 points the whole game. It went into overtime, so it was a defensive game. But it's whatever.
That's what it's fascinating having this conversation, because the young quarterback's coming up. This story of Brian Flores versus Tua. This situation to see C.J. Stroud takes off, but Bryce Young fails. How do you develop a quarterback in the NFL? What route are you taking to get the job done? 505-246-0610. That's Sports Animal Hotline and text line. This morning, we roll on here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Mirror here.
And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team is going through some changes, but we're here to stay.
We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field.
505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space.
And you can be part of it.
You make my heart better. Try this shit better than all my intentions. Locked in shorty, you got my attention. See your baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit hanswhitlerauto.com.
If you're drunk, blasted, intoxicated, ripped, plastered, taint, destroyed, bruh. If you're like this, you shouldn't be driving.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Cross-Camara here.
And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team's going through some changes, but we're here to stay.
We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field.
505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space.
And you can be part of it.
Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Locked in, shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction safety company is helping our men and women in construction get home safe every day to their families. Indeed Safety is a proud supporter of ProView Network.
Teenagers love a party, especially during prom and graduation season. Often, alcohol is involved. Some parents think that hosting a party with alcohol in their home will keep the kids safe, but it's wrong and it's illegal. As a parent, to allow your teenagers' underage friends to consume alcohol on your property is a felony. Parents who host lose the most. Don't be a party to teenage drinking.
Versus new school coaching philosophy. Yes, it's a team game. We're talking football. We understand you got to win at the line of scrimmage. You need to play defense. You have to have good special teams, but also the quarterback play. Look at who's played in the Super Bowl. Look who's winning the Super Bowl. It's about chasing down that guy right now in Patrick Mahomes. And part of the process is building your team. You're going to have to invest in elite talent. And we discussed that with CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase. Like, keep it simple. But then also making the right decisions when maybe it's not that simple. When you have a guy that's good, but you want to get stuck paying him elite money just because. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610. The Sports Animal, JJ Buck, joined by our quarterback, former Lobo quarterback, coach, wherever they played football on this planet. This guy probably coached there. It is Ned James.
Yes. Even Grant Park on the west side, middle school kids.
There we go. Building the future. So that our coach and quarterback Ned James is all about. Jerry holding it down, Adrian on ProView Networks. You can watch the show streaming online, and of course, Xfinity Channel 26. So, as we've been discussing the quarterback, the style, the development of the position, we're going to continue to play general manager in a team that has the second best Super Bowl odds right behind the Kansas City Chiefs, San Francisco 49ers. A little noisy offseason, mainly Brandon Ayuk. But there's also a player that's not there, and that's Trent Williams, the left tackle. He's not there. So I ask you the question, left tackle or wide receiver? If you have to figure this out, which John Lynch has to figure this out, like TikTok. Yes, you got some preseason games this week, but I'm looking and it's September 5th? They're kicking off that football. It's week 1 of the NFL regular season. The left tackle or wide receiver? Like, San Francisco has to answer these questions. And I would be more concerned that Trent Williams is not there as opposed to Brandon Ayuk. Because when it comes to football, you got to get to the quarterback and you got to protect the quarterback. So get Trent Williams some guaranteed money for 2 more years. He's 36 years old. Let him enjoy his last couple of years. So another question, left tackle or wide receiver?
Yeah, and we had this discussion. Everyone talks about the business of football. It's always, you have to be careful when you're talking about guys' money and who deserves what and how much and all that sort of stuff. But like we talked about a little bit off air, I've always been under the premise that if you get the ball in the end zone or keep the ball or keep a guy from sacking the quarterback and keeping the guy in the end zone, that's one of the things that I think is really kind of interesting with the left tackle position, because you're the top players that are being paid are those pass rushers, and you got to keep the guy off the quarterback if that quarterback is that important to what you're doing. And then Brandon Ayuk gets the ball in the end zone. So if you're looking at the end zone part of it, which one do you take? And you're under the impression that it's left tackle. The wide receiver, is he that big of a threat to score on people, you have to account for Brandon Ayuk, then he would be the most important. And so with the 49ers, you've got Debo, he's making a lot of money. You got McCaffrey, he's making a ton of money. You may want to keep that left tackle who's a Pro Bowler.
And a lot of this, too, is timing of it all. And I understand Brandon Ayuk doesn't want to just play on his fifth-year option. But it's also, what leverage does he have? He doesn't have a lot of leverage right now because they could have sent him to New England. New England was ready to give him the bag. And he's like, well, I don't want to go there. And so I just think it's really fascinating. My mind was swirling this morning about building a team. Who do you go all in on? But it also is team specific at the moment. If I'm San Francisco, I go, yeah, Brandon, get it. He had over 75 catches. I think he was 7th in NFL in receiving yards at 7 touchdowns last year. But it's what you said. I got Debo right now. I got Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle. Got to get Trent Williams figured out. That team wants to keep being competitive. 505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline and text line. Mike, you're on the opening drive. What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for taking my call. So I just want to comment a little bit about like what you're talking about. So first off, in order to go get the Super Bowl, to win the Super Bowl, I think everybody on the team has to commit to winning the Super Bowl, taking pay cuts. That was one of the things that Tom Brady absolutely mastered, and it's one of the things that Patrick Mahomes is also, good at, getting his money situated to where he doesn't cost so much of the salary cap to his team. So, everybody out here that's trying to get paid, go for the bag, get the bag, all of that is good for the individual player, but that doesn't translate into Super Bowls. And that's just how I feel about that. Now, secondly, how do you treat a young quarterback? Treating a young quarterback is like raising a kid, right? So what you got to do is you got to have full commitment, like the whole idea that it takes a village to raise a kid. Yeah, you got to have the head coach on board. You got to have the GM on board. Everybody's got to be on board. You got to be loading up, preparing this kid, setting him up on the offensive line to be protected. You got to put as many weapons as you can around him, which is exactly what the Texans have done for C.J. Stroud. And it's exactly, to a T, what the Carolina Panthers did not do for Bryce Young, which is why it looked so much like it looked last year. Thanks for taking my call, guys. Have a great day.
I appreciate it. I like that from Mike about it takes a village with the quarterback. And, sometimes you're in a different position. Like Chicago was in a fantastic position to where, they brought in DJ Moore last year and kind of developing Cole Kmet. But then when you realize you go into the offseason, you have the number 1 overall pick, but you're not the worst team in the league. You still had number 9, but that was Carolina's pick. And then so what do? They said, oh, we kind of swung and missed with Justin Fields and developing him. So then they bring in Keenan Allen, and they also draft a wide receiver in the first round. That's that mindset. And that's what I do think is fascinating when you look at not just the coaches, it's what are they doing? And, a team that really interests me in terms of going all in on a young quarterback is your Tennessee Titans, of the move that they made. You're moving off Mike Vrabel, a guy that it felt like the ownership, trusted. It's kind of old school. It's Mike Vrabel, but then realizing, you have Will Levis going into a second season. And so they bring over, Brian Callahan was the OC in Cincinnati. So you bring in an offensive coordinator to be the head coach. You go give Calvin Ridley a big-time contract in the offseason to go with Nuke Hopkins. You have, I think, a decent running back pairing in Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard, but you kind of go all in and insulate that. And that's something that really surprised me. Look at even last year with the Colts and knowing that they're drafting a quarterback. Will they go get John Steichen, offensive coordinator from Philadelphia, and say, this is the route we're going? Offensive-minded head coach trying to surround these guys. And I think that's what it is you have to be all in. And maybe kind of to the point of what Mike was getting at is you have to have a little bit of leeway, right? You have to be maybe a little bit softer on some of these guys and not necessarily take the Brian Flores approach with these young quarterbacks.
Yeah, and so everybody's jumping on the bandwagon, the offensive bandwagon. Andy Reid's been winning. Everybody's thinking, okay, you got to hire offensive guys to be head coaches in the NFL. Not so fast. You play defense.
Well, how about, does it matter based on where that quarterback is? Because I'm with you, because I think an interesting one would be Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell's not this like Dan Campbell is a tight end, right? But he's not. I don't think people look at Dan Campbell and go, well, this is this offensive mastermind, but it's kind of the right time, right place, right? They needed the damn Dan Campbell style with a veteran quarterback,
right? That
worked in Detroit.
Well, yeah, okay, but my point more speaks to the emphasis on the type of coach that's the head coach, whether he's an offensive minded guy or a defensive minded guy. I don't really think that makes a difference. I think the relationship of the head coach to the quarterback and their relationship, I think Dan Campbell's a little goofy. I think he gave up a chance for the Super Bowl by being goofy in the NFC Championship game. I mean, they deserve to be up 17 points. They were supposed to be in the Super Bowl. I think he cost them the game. But at the same time, I don't necessarily believe that just because you're an offensive guy makes you a better head coach for quarterbacks. It doesn't. Sure, you may have a better understanding of but you know how I am, JJ. You know I don't believe offense is how you win championships. I think it's a part of it, but I do think significantly defense, and it spoke to that in the Super Bowl. I think everybody really believes Patrick Mahomes played this incredible Super Bowl game this past Super Bowl. It was 13-13 at the fourth quarter. They went into overtime. He got a touchdown based off of a muffed punt. The kicker or somebody on defense should have won MVP, but everybody gives it to the quarterback because of the way the game is. It's just that I think that defense is really more important, and I think your offensive quarterback has to be skilled. He has to be smart, can't turn the ball over, and that really helps you in winning games. And I think it's helped the Kansas City Chiefs in so much as they've got all three pieces.
They do. The defense was why they won last
and the special teams, that 57-yard field goal. I mean, it's things like that people don't.
That's why they paid Harrison Butker in the offseason.
That's right. And that's why Dave Tube is probably one of the best special teams coaches in the NFL. I mean, his one of his punt returner is the first guy to go into the Hall of Fame. Hester.
Devin Hester.
Devin Hester. That's his guy that he created. He was the one reason why Devin Hester was returning even though Devin Hester has the skill, he was the special teams coordinator that got him all those returns. So it's just little things like that. It's the game within the game that people don't necessarily pay attention to because the quarterback is so glamorous. He gets all the girls. He gets all the TV shows and the movies. But yet and still, he gets the most money, even though he's probably the second worst athlete next to the kickers and the punter on the team. And he's able to get, and we'll go into that later as well with the style of quarterbacks, because you got the Lamar Jacksons versus the stiffs like Jared Goff, who people don't believe are really, are a bygone time, and how those guys really are able to compete in the NFL with the new age running quarterbacks is another interesting thing. So I still think that, you need all of it. I think you need defensive players as well as offensive skilled players.
You do. It's still a team game, no doubt about it. But I think you realize, too, now more so than ever, to compete at the highest level, you have to have the right quarterback development to go along with everything else. Yes, there's not one style that fits all, but I do think it's really interesting focusing on the young quarterbacks right now in the NFL of how we got to where we are with competing, trying to run down those guys atop the NFL. We'll continue this conversation throughout the morning, 505-246-0610, just on developing young players. What would your mindset be if you're putting a team together trying to compete right now in the NFL? But speaking of coaching, it's opportunity. Come back on the other side. We're going to shift gears, talk some Mountain West football. Some of the news that's coming out ahead of the season. Boise State named their starting quarterback. And remember that they had five-star guy transfer from USC. So who's going to be their starting quarterback? And when it comes to coaching in the Mountain West Conference, why should you be more optimistic than usual for Lobo football? We'll get into that next. The opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
This report is sponsored by eBay.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit HansWhitlerAuto.com.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep. ProView Networks.
Hi, I'm Steve Stucker here for Dr. Robert Melendez and the Juliet Eye Institute. You may remember me like this, but no more. The glasses are gone. I tossed them months ago because of a brand new procedure from Dr. Melendez known as RLE, Refractive Lens Exchange. The latest technology, the best eyesight I've ever had in my life, and you can check it out by clicking on the link in the description right here.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Everguard Roofing and Solar. For nearly 20 years, Everguard Roofing and Solar has been working with New Mexicans to enhance their homes and businesses. For all your roofing and solar needs in New Mexico, call 505-821-9543. We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
If you're drunk, blasted, intoxicated, ripped, plastered, taint, destroyed, bruh. If you're like this, you shouldn't be driving.
I was born in New Mexico. I grew up on these streets. I got in trouble here, and I fought my way back in boot camp. I love New Mexico, especially the people. Now I'm using my training, tenacity, and energy to fight for you. I'm Adam Oki, lawyer, fighter, and New Mexican. I was a local athlete here in New Mexico, so I'm proud to support your local athletes.
if I'll be there or not on Saturday. But Robert Portnoy.
I'm not going to be there if you're not there.
Robert Portnoy and Dontrell Moore kick off the pregame show, 1 o'clock, UNM Sports Radio Network over on News Radio KKOB, 2 o'clock kickoff, UNM and Montana State, the Bobcats. But it's also a year of opportunity because the Mountain West is in an interesting position. You have the Boise State Broncos came on strong to end here. Spencer Danielson took over as interim coach. They went into Las Vegas, beat UNLV in the Mountain West title game in Allegiant Stadium. Well, then they hired Spencer Danielson as a full-time head coach. And you have a team like Fresno State, who's been very strong over the last few years. Jeff Tedford coming back. Fortunately, health issues once again for Jeff Tedford. He steps aside, so Tim Skipper is the interim coach at Fresno State. Well, we did see Tim Skipper win a bowl game in that role previously for the Bulldogs. Been there, done that. Troy Calhoun, the one consistent in the Mountain West Conference. You have Jay Norvell continuing at Colorado State, Jimmy Chang at Hawaii, and then it's up in the air because you have brand new head coaches: Wyoming, Utah State, San Diego State, San Jose State, Nevada, of course, Bronco Mendenhall era right here. And even those teams that have that carryover, Tim Skipper, been there, done that. You look at it and say, no, like not having Jeff Tedford in that role, even if he's not there, you think it's going to have a bigger impact. So that's why opportunity in year one could be bigger than usual just because of all the turnover at the coaching position in the Mountain West Conference.
Right. And I don't know how anyone could. I mean, you're gonna be able to tell after this first game, just where teams could possibly be, but nobody else is playing except us. But once they get a game under their belt, you'll be able to get a better idea of how these teams are going to be the rest of the season. And so with these new coaches, these veteran coaches, people don't realize these old guys, we have a few, tricks up our sleeves. And so, I mean, losing Craig Bowl and Tedford and guys like that who are just experienced play callers and football coaches, it's going to have an effect on this conference this year. And Lobos are, in a good position. I mean, I know, the large turnover with players is something to worry about. But, I mean, when you get a quality coach like Bronco Mendenhall, who's coming off, he was out of coaching for a couple of years. And so now he's back in the swing of things, probably needed, a little time to kind of reinvigorate himself. And now he's back and he understands what it takes to win. And so, he's going to put his best foot forward. He's going to put his best team out there to give them a chance to win. And I think he believes he's got a shot this year because of all the turnover on the other teams. I think he respected those guys. I think he respected Tedford and Craig Bowl, who were veterans in this business. And now, he has an opportunity to step in and make waves.
Yeah, so you look at the conference opponents for the Lobos this season. They'll see Fresno State September 21st here in Albuquerque. They'll host Air Force. They'll be at Colorado State, host Wyoming, at San Diego State, and then at Hawaii. So you have Skipper, but I don't think it's going to be a huge downturn. I do think that team will run a little bit smoother than the other ones. Like, say, Utah State losing Blake Anderson. Yeah. Like, that's a different situation. But so you get really, Utah State, Wyoming, San Diego State. So 3 teams with kind of brand new turnover at the coaching position. So are you going to be able to take advantage of it as much as the way your schedule is? It's opportunity. And the Lobos are in a position where the expectations from everyone else are super low because every day I pulled this up and I just went to ESPN Bet. It's 11.5 points now that the Lobos are underdogs to Montana State. People are betting up the Bobcats like crazy right now.
Yeah, because of the national ranking. They've got they're 4th in the nation.
They have a number by their name.
Yeah, they have a number.
Yeah.
And, you're talking, people are looking at the roster, the UNM roster, and they're not impressed. They're not impressed with the whole coaching thing. And, Bronco's been out of it a couple of years. So if he just transitioned straight from Virginia here, then there probably would be, less of a concern about, hey, how is he, going to, change this team? And he's got a young coaching staff too. So, I mean, that's one of those things that I think people are looking at and they're thinking, hey, this may be an opportunity. But with Montana State, in my opinion, they've got their own issues. Like, Willie Mack Garza was their D coordinator. Now he's not there. They got a new defensive coordinator. So, and he's a young guy. So it's one of those things where, sure, people can bet it up because of the potential. They've got a lot of returners coming back, and those two running backs are really good. I think there's some speed there, but at the same time, when you're going into the portal, you can get some surprises out of that portal. I mean, I think people are going to be impressed with some of the guys. There's some guys out there that I think look the part, but I want to see them, and they've done some things in practice. I want to see them when there's a different color jersey over there. So,
and those guys are antsy to,
and that's the thing you don't know. What's that?
I said, and those Lobos are antsy to, hit someone else at this point in time.
Oh yeah, definitely. But at the same time, these guys are coming in. They're fresh, they're new, and so they don't know. I mean, we're playing in altitude. You have to catch your wind. So it'll be interesting. And like I said, people are betting up Montana State, and I joked, I have to be careful with this. I don't want to give the Montana State Bobcats any bulletin board material, but they ain't Montana. They ain't the Grizzlies, because the Grizzlies are what Montana is all about. Montana State, now they've had a nice run here the last couple of years, but they're still not beating Montana. And so that's one of the things that I've always thought about, because my roommate here in college was from Missoula, and I've been to Missoula, and I've seen that whole program. And I know the Hawk brothers. Timmy Hawk played for us when I was in Seattle. So, and that's a tradition there in Missoula. But at the same time, they're getting a lot of accolades. I mean, they look good on film from last year. The quarterback is back, but I thought he rotated in a little bit. So it'll be fun. People should come out and watch and see if there's something that they think this Montana State team has that they haven't seen before. If they're getting that many points, somebody's seeing something.
We'll see what they're seeing. So when it comes to opportunity around the Mountain West Conference, there is always a team you're going to trust. And I don't know if there's been a year since they've been in the Mountain West that Boise State hasn't been the preseason pick to win the league. But they did announce their starting quarterback. And the news that was made by Boise State was they hit the transfer portal and they brought in a 5-star quarterback from USC, Malachi Nelson. But guess what they did? It's the sophomore. It's the in-house guy, Maddox Madsen, that will be the starting quarterback for Boise State this season, and Spencer Danielson. So Madison appeared in 9 games last year, threw for 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns, had 2 rushing touchdowns. His only start came against the Lobos. So he was 6 of 11 for 202 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is a Boise State team that they were 26th last year in total offense. They cleared 40 points 3 times in the last 4 games. And when they had the coaching change from, what am I blanking on?
The head coach?
Yeah, so Boise State, when they changed coach, Spencer Danielson came in, and they did take off. And they're going with the sophomore over the 5-star recruit from USC, Madsen, try to pick up where they left off offense.
And my biggest thing is, how much did they pay to get the USC guy there? That now you got backup guys with salaries.
They probably paid him 6 figures.
Yes, and so therein lies the rub. How much are you paying these backup quarterbacks and guys who are not getting paid? And it's just a mess. I mean, I'm curious to see how that goes in Boise. They're predicted to win. They've got the running back who's
Ashton Genty,
supposed to be a first-team All-American, and so it's going to be interesting to see them. We don't play them this year, so we'll be able to watch them a little bit on film against other opponents, but it'll be fun to see.
So you get your usual mountain foes on the schedule: Wyoming, Air Force, Colorado State, Utah State, no Boise State for New Mexico, but opportunity in a Mountain West that is full of change. 505-246-0610 as the Sports Animal Hotline and text line this morning. We come back on the other side. You heard Ned talking about some of the players that are looking the part. We were breaking it down yesterday with the former Lobo linebacker, Cy Riley, the 2 deep. I'm going to get Ned's thoughts on some of the names that jump out and who he's excited to see on Saturday for the Lobos when they open up against Montana State, 2 o'clock at University Stadium. It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
This report brought to you by the Albuquerque Journal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
These days, it's important to know people and businesses you can trust. There's a lot of places where you can buy a vehicle, but there's only a few local dealerships where you'll find honest people who have your best interests in mind. And Fiesta Kia is one of them. We've been helping our neighbors save money and drive dependable cars for years, and we'd love to help you. With new Kias arriving daily, you'll love our selection and the peace of mind you'll get driving a Kia from Fiesta. So stop by and see us today at Fiesta Kia on Lomas, or just start driving now at fiestakia.com.
I was born in New Mexico. I grew up on these streets. I got in trouble here, and I fought my way back in boot camp. I love New Mexico, especially the people. Now I'm using my training, tenacity, and energy to fight for you.
I'm Adam Oki, lawyer, fighter, and New Mexican. I was a local athlete here in New Mexico, so I'm proud to support your local athletes.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Hi, I'm Steve Stunker here for Dr. Robert Melendez and the Juliet Eye Institute. You may remember me like this, but no more. The glasses are gone. I tossed them months ago because of a brand new procedure from Dr. Melendez known as RLE, Refractive Lens Exchange. The latest technology, the best eyesight I've ever had in my life, and you can check it out by clicking on the link in the description right here.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Mirror here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team is going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space. And you can be part of it.
You make my heart better. Try this shit better than all my intentions. Locked in shorty, you got my attention. See your baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But it's the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Sprout, get ready.
My coach. My teacher. My older sisters. My grandma. My brother. My tutor. My dad and my mom.
As New Mexicans, it's up to all of us to do our part.
So that no child goes without love.
And no family has to do it all on their own.
They're all our children. Every single person is called to make a difference in the life of a child.
It's up to all of us to do our part.
To pull together.
Pull together.
Pull together.
To make New Mexico the best place to be a kid.
I was born in New Mexico. I grew up on these streets. I got in trouble here, and I fought my way back in boot camp. I love New Mexico, especially the people. Now I'm using my training, tenacity, and energy to fight for you.
I'm Adam Oki, lawyer, fighter, and New Mexican. I was a local athlete here in New Mexico, so I'm proud to support your local athletes.
Rudy's is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction safety company is helping our men and women in construction get home safe every day to their families. Indy Safety is a proud supporter of ProView Network.
Hi, I'm Steve Stucker here for Dr. Robert Melendez and the Juliet Eye Institute. You may remember me like this, but no more. The glasses are gone. I tossed them months ago because of a brand new procedure from Dr. Melendez known as RLE, Refractive Lens Exchange. The latest technology, the best eyesight I've ever had in my life, and you can check it out by clicking on the link in the description right here.
Young driver, this one. Hard to get her out. She'd been drinking. This one. Both of them gone. They'd been drinking, and he drove clear off the road. This was my family. Drunk driver hit us. And my wife and our daughter, they didn't make it.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
Well, yesterday was the debut of the Lobo Coaches Show right here on the Sports Animal. Tuesdays, 6 to 7 o'clock. Bronco Mendenhall, Robert Porter, and special guest from San Diego Resort Casino. And you hear that live here on the Sports Animal. It's the opening drive. J.J. Buck, our quarterback, Ned James in studio, hanging out as we get ready for the opener on Saturday, Lobos and Montana State. Symbieta back on Friday. I had to make a trip up to University of Michigan. Had a new Wolverine in the family, dropping off his daughter at college. I did see, you know who they ran into on the trip up there? Jerry Palm.
Oh.
Our friend Jerry Palm, CBS Sports.
Yeah, because you got to go through
Indiana.
Yeah.
And so, but we did get confirmation, Jerry Palm back on board Thursday starting next week throughout college football and college basketball season. So opportunity, it's there in the Mountain West Conference. A lot of coaching turnover, a lot of new players in new places. That's what college athletics is. But we got our first look Monday when the Lobos put out their game notes and released the 2 deep on the roster. I know the guy we've been talking about a lot. We were talking yesterday with Cy Riley, the former Lobo linebacker, is the backup quarterback. The legend that is Isaiah Chavez.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think why this is fascinating is because since the end of 2020, when Isaiah Chavez won those 2 games, this fan base has been, there's a portion of this fan base at UNM that's been clamoring for Isaiah Chavez. Local kid, he won games. Why wasn't he given a shot? Why wasn't Isaiah Chavez ever in the quarterback competition? Because after 2020, he really wasn't. And we saw he had to overcome some injuries up and down with his physical ability through those last couple of years. There was times where maybe he was flirting with being a long snapper last season, just trying to be there. Well, now you look and you see he's the outright backup quarterback, at least for this week for the Lobos. There's no or there. It's right. Devin Dampier and Isaiah Chavez. And why would that be? Well, I think with some of the previous years, we know why. They were trying to catch lightning in a bottle. They wanted to bring in an experienced quarterback to try to win games right away. We saw it with Terry Wilson, saw it with Miles Kendrick, saw it with Dylan Hopkins. And now I also think it's a system that because of this is who they have, Devin Dampier, Isaiah Chavez, where you have the offensive coordinator, Jason Beck, probably using these guys more to what they can do. A little bit more run, a little bit more out of the pocket. So it allows someone like Isaiah Chavez to get back in the mix as opposed to looking at, when we're talking about, even with the athleticism of, Terry Wilson, like Terry Wilson, Miles Kendrick, Dylan Hopkins, those are guys that it's pocket passers. You want them throwing the football down the field. So I do think that it's kind of the best case scenario for someone like Isaiah Chavez. New staff comes in. He's here with Devin Dampier. They see, all right, what are your strengths? Oh, you guys that can move a little bit like you out of the pocket. And it's why he was able to earn himself QB2.
And yeah, and he's a run pass option guy. I don't know about the pass stuff as much, but the run stuff he really was able to execute that, especially the triple. And so it'll be interesting to see, if he does get some run, if there's a package for him this game. The quarterbacks are small now. They're small. Devin Dampier is small. I think people will be pleasantly surprised at the amount of New Mexico guys that they're going to see action this year. And so you may want to come out, especially you ones that complain all the time about not enough New Mexico kids on the roster and playing time.
Well,
So-
to your starting wide receivers listed in bold letters on the depth chart. Of course, it's Luke Wysong.
Yeah.
People are excited to see him back on the field coming off injury last season, and then a redshirt freshman, Nick Trujillo.
Yeah. And Nick was an interesting kid because I watched him on special. I got to watch a little bit more practices last year. So I watched him last year develop on the scout team. And I recall actually going up to him and saying, hey, man, you keep up the good work. Keep working hard because, you're really going to be something. Because, he went after practice. He went into practice every day, practice as if he was playing in the game. And he was on the scout team. And so it was, I know they don't use that term now, but he really showed his worth along with a couple other local guys. The kid from up in Cibola we were talking about the other day as well. Unfortunately, he had to get a job, and I felt bad about that. Couldn't play this season, but those guys really looked good. I was really impressed. We had some good receivers last year, I thought, offensively, and so they were just biding their time, doing their work. Like you said, developing their skill set, and I just tried to give him a little confidence by being positive with him. But I really did see some things in this Nick Trujillo kid out of Rio Rancho, just with his hands and how he caught the ball. And he was a young kid, so he was smaller, so he had to hit the weight room and get a little bit stronger. And it's paid off. He got a new coaching staff, and they're just going to go by what they see. I still think there's some developing still left with him, but I still think he's made some strides that were impressive to the new coaching staff. But I think this whole group of guys that they're playing, the guy who I'm curious to see, and he's got to make waves this year. Also, the transfer on defense, Gabriel Lopez, because I thought Lopez would play much better last year. I thought the system might have held him back. I think they've got him in a little bit better position this year. So we'll see what happens.
That's a good tease, because I do want to talk about the defensive line, because I think with the new formation, and we're going to see more of a traditional 4 down front from Nick Howe and the Lobos this season. Can that be a strength? It's been a question mark. They've been smaller. They've been trying to play the 3-3-5 blitz, but we haven't seen a lot of pressure. We didn't see a lot of turnovers. But are these guys better suited for this system moving forward? We'll look at that defensive line, because I do think it has the opportunity to be one of the standout units, at least early in the season for the Lobos. That's coming up next. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
I'm going to tell you about IPS because I so believe in what they do.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Teenagers love a party, especially during prom and graduation season. Often, alcohol is involved. Some parents think that hosting a party with alcohol in their home will keep the kids safe, but it's wrong and it's illegal. As a parent, to allow your teenagers' underage friends to consume alcohol on your property is a felony. Parents who host lose the most. Don't be a party to teenage drinking.
This is a program of the Drug Free Action Alliance. For more information, go to burnco.gov/do-not-host.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is Pro View. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on Pro
going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Cross-Camara here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team is going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space, and you can be part of it.
Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Like me, shorty, you got my attention. See your baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
Hey, look, it's Dwight Goodman. Boom! This place is hot. Let's see if anyone needs my help. How about I drive you madman home, huh? I got this, Dwight. I'm the designated driver. Boom. Sweet. Does anyone need Dwight's help getting home tonight?
No thanks, Romeo. I've got a taxi all lined up.
Drive safe, Dwight. Boom! Boom!
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
These days, it's important to know people and businesses you can trust. There's a lot of places where you can buy a vehicle, but there's only a few local dealerships where you'll find honest people who have your best interests in mind. And Fiesta Kia is one of them. We've been helping our neighbors save money and drive dependable cars for years, and we'd love to help you. With new Kias arriving daily, you'll love our selection and the peace of mind you'll get driving a Kia from Fiesta. So stop by and see us today at Fiesta Kia on Lomas, or just start driving now at fiestakia.com.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Cross-Camara here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team is going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space, and you can be part of it.
Try this shit better than all my intentions. Locked in, shorty, you got my attention. See your baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
A burglary takes place in the United States approximately every 15 seconds. International Protective Service is your answer for commercial and residential security in all of Albuquerque. IPS will work with your monitoring company for fast, reliable response times. You can rest easy knowing you, your family, or your company is watched over by International Protective Service. Call International Protective Service today.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
If you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Marty Size in Albuquerque today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried
opportunity and maybe in a better position as the depth chart season continues, because all we got to work with right now. Finally, we'll have a game to talk about Saturday. Lobos, Montana State out there at University Stadium, 2 p.m. kickoff, and then we'll get to give them the eye test, see what the scheme looks like, see what the players are being asked to do, break it down after the fact. But right now, we can just really talk about the players and expectations within the scheme. J.J. Buck, our quarterback, Ned James, with you here on the opening drive. And an area that I think is going to be a strength for the Lobos is going to be the front four. Yes, a front four. 4-2-5, the base defense for the Lobos, defensive coordinator Nick Howe. But when you look at what we're seeing, Gabe Lopez, Kyler Drake, Tyler Keeney, names that you know. But I think those guys, they've been asked to be lighter and quicker. Now this offseason, they could focus on putting some of that weight back on, getting stronger. But it does feel like just the four-down look with these guys specifically might be just better suited to kind of how they play.
Well, yeah, we're going to see. I mean, they've got some size up front, and they've got some guys that, played okay. The local kid, like I said, there's another local kid, but like I told you, last segment, I'm curious to see how Gabe Lopez plays, because Gabe was a guy that came in here with a lot of accolades last year, 2 years ago, and he's really flashed at times. And that scheme, maybe the scheme didn't really favor him too much, but I hate to use scheme to kind of help a guy.
To give him an out.
Yeah, to give him an out. But he's the guy that I really, you kind of become fond of certain guys when you talk to him. And he's one of the guys I'm a little fond of. So I want to see him do something this year, particularly in a game like this. This is an FCS school. I mean, you can say what you want about them being ranked high and being favored and all that, but you got to show up in games like this. And especially the first game of the year, you're going to be well rested. You should be rearing to go. You've been hitting on your own buddies for the past, 4 months, and now it's time to go and show what you could do once the game starts. And so I'm curious to see if he steps his game up with Kyler Drake. Drake, played well last year. He was probably one of the top tacklers last year, and so those two guys need to play and show, hey, this is the Division I. It's not FCS. I want to see them impose their will on this Montana State team.
Yeah, especially with the style of football that we're expecting to see from Montana State. They want to run the football. They averaged 291 yards rushing last year, the second in FCS. So that goes right to setting the tone at the line of scrimmage.
Absolutely. And this is how you want to make the game. You want the game to be physical. You want to play the game in a box. You want to be able to show, hey, look, we got just as much as you got. Let's see what you got. And so I don't know how well Gabe Lopez is, because he's kind of dropped some weight, so he's a little bit lighter, he's faster. And but I still think that he is the bell cow on that defensive front. And we're going to see. He's a senior. He's been, in the program several years now, 3 years to transfer from Washington State. Guy came in, with a lot of accolades from the last staff, but now, it's put up or shut up time. So, I think he will. I really like Gabe. I think, his personality, I think a lot of the guys feed off of it because he's really, really vocal. And I think he's also, really positive. And so I think this will be the test. A team coming in like Montana State with what they have to look forward to, being ranked as high as they are. This will be a good test for these guys.
Yeah, starts at the line of scrimmage, and the Lobos, will they lean on their defense early in this season, or it will be the offense? We'll see. The eye test will finally let us know what these Lobos are going to look like this season. They take the field Saturday, 2 p.m. against Montana State. We have plenty more on this game over the next couple days, as Ned is going to be with us, of course, tomorrow as well, before Jefferson Vieta back on Friday. But they're trying to figure out the scheme, where guys are going to be positioned to make plays. Because what do we have to work off right now? With the depth chart and a little bit of knowledge. Yeah. And that knowledge comes from Ned James in terms of knowing some of what these guys do schematically for UNM, the new coordinators under head coach Bronco Mendenhall. 505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline and text line this morning. We come back on the other side. TikTok, not only is it 0 week, but yes, it's the final week of NFL preseason football, and there's some impactful players that haven't shown up yet. How worried should you be with these elite wide receivers? It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Mirror here, and I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team is going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space, and you can be part of it.
Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Like me, shorty, you got my attention. See your baby, I get you the minutes. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
I was born in New Mexico. I grew up on these streets. I got in trouble here, and I fought my way back in boot camp. I love New Mexico, especially the people. Now I'm using my training, tenacity, and energy to fight for you. I'm Adam Oki, lawyer, fighter, and New Mexican. I was a local athlete here in New Mexico, so I'm proud to support your local athletes.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
Teenagers love a party, especially during prom and graduation season. Often, alcohol is involved. Some parents think that hosting a party with alcohol in their home will keep the kids safe, but it's wrong and it's illegal. As a parent, to allow your teenagers' underage friends to consume alcohol on your property is a felony. Parents who host lose the most. Don't be a party to teenage drinking.
This is a program of the Drug Free Action Alliance. For more information, go to burnco.gov/do-not-host.
Hey, look! It's Dwight Goodman! Boom! This place is hot. Let's see if anyone needs my help. How about I drive you madman home, huh?
I got this, Dwight. I'm the designated driver.
Boom. Sweet. Does anyone need Dwight's help getting home tonight?
No thanks, Romeo. I've got a taxi all lined up.
Drive safe, Dwight. Boom! Boom!
Seriously? You expect me to drive while you aren't wearing seatbelts?
What's the worst that can happen?
Sports show in New Mexico for 5 years running. It's the OD in the AM with three-time New Mexico Sportscaster of the Year, Jeff Symbieta, and JJ Bond.
Keep it simple. You can't do that sometimes. It's possible to stay out of your own way, but you look at a couple franchises, a couple owners in the NFL, and they just make it harder than it needs to be. Tick-tock, the countdown is on. The regular season is here for college football. You'll blink, and we'll be watching the NFL regular season. And there's elite players right now that are not on track to be on the football field. You can say all you want about staying healthy, working out, exercising, but it's different when you're away, when you're not practicing every day, when you're not in camp. It's going to take you a little time to ramp up, even if you're an elite football player. And with two of those guys, CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase, you ask the question, why are you making it so difficult? Sometimes it's an easy answer. Do you have to pay up? Maybe you overpay a little bit. Okay, but we're talking about elite talent. And then what does that do for your team getting ready for the season? If you're Jerry Jones, you're sitting there telling everyone this is great. This is opportunity for everyone else. This is opportunity for the young players to step up. He thinks Dak Prescott obviously has that different edge where he's going to be fine with or without CeeDee Lamb, because that's what he's telling you. If there's no urgency to sign CeeDee Lamb, he's like, hey, Dak's our guy. He's going to elevate everyone to another level. Okay, but all you're doing with elite talent, when you wait, you're not getting a better deal. You're not getting a player who's going to go, okay, yeah, you're right. I should only play for this. Elite talent's just going to rise. Because a year from now, this $35 million year per receiver, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, that's 45. Yeah. 2 years from now, that's 55. Mm-hmm. So elite talent, get it done, because then the noise it creates, the storm for the Dallas Cowboys. You have Cowboy fans. Yes, some are always going to be glass half full, but you have fans that are just so done with the franchise because of things like this, because of the noise. And they say, no, it's not Dak Prescott. It's not Mike McCarthy. It's Jerry Jones. It doesn't matter what he does. He's the reason the Cowboys can't take the next step. And sometimes keeping it simple is the right move. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. JJ Buck, our quarterback, Ned James, with you this morning. Jerry holding it down. Producing on the radio side, we got Adrian on ProView Networks. You can stream the show, watch the show every single morning. These are the ones that frustrate me the most. Like, it's one thing if you're having a contract negotiation with a good player and you don't want to pay him great money. Mm-hmm. That's the business side of it. Yes, have your back and forth. But it's CeeDee Lamb, it's Jamar Chase. They are difference makers that are going to elevate their quarterback with Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott. So what is it? Yeah. Ned, is it just when you're working with certain guys, it is my way or the highway, because we are talking about Jerry Jones. We are talking about a Bengals franchise that is still known as pretty frugal. So what's going on?
Yeah, one of the things I always go back to, I remember when Rex Ryan coached the New York Jets, and there was some contract issues with the cornerback who's the Hall of Famer now.
Daryl Revis?
Revis Island, yeah, Revis. And the fact that Revis would sign these contracts and then he'd hold out every year. Say, I need more money. I'm holding out again. Well, we just did your contract. You want to do it? Yeah, I want to do it again. That's not enough. And so that was the extreme. Now you have the other side. Now you have guys that hold out and the owners aren't budgeting. One of the things I look at when you hear about these holdouts is, what do you hear from the head coaches? Because those are the ones who seem to have to be more invested because they're putting together the team. And I have to admit, McCarthy and the head coach from the Bengals, they've been kind of quiet about this whole thing. Zach Taylor and McCarthy have been quiet about these two receivers who are big-time players Now, is it because ownership has told them, hey, you need to stay out of this, or is it by choice? They just don't believe they need to be involved in it. Because, if it's somebody that you really, really, really want, you're going to voice your opinion, especially McCarthy, who's in a kind of a lame duck situation. If he really felt like, hey, this is the guy, I mean, he needs to champion for that guy. So Jerry can kind of, bend a little bit. So that's one of the things I think has been interesting, is that you haven't heard very much out of the head coaches about these two particularly strong receivers that you really need to have. And Jamar Chase, to me, is really one of those guys that, you just really should miss. And I know he's got 2 years left on his contract, but yet still.
Well, especially if you're saying, hey, we're not signing T. Higgins long term. He signed the franchise tag. He's locked in $20 million. Mm-hmm. Like, this would be the time to lock up Jamar Chase, because that number is only going to get higher. Mm-hmm. So that would be the one, hey, this is the elite wide receiver one we're leaning into. So you have Joe Burrow locked up. Like, I get it. You're working within the cap situation, but you can agree to contracts that would kick in next year. Say, all right, next year, boom, here you go. We'll give you a little bit of, an extra signing bonus now, make you happy. Where I just scratch my head sometimes and so why does it have to be difficult in these situations? Because this is like unnecessary noise.
Yeah, but these guys have done business. These owners haven't gotten rich by just giving away money. So they understand how business operates. And so they're not going to just, let these, guys just run roughshod over them. But to me, I think it speaks volumes to the head coach's position. I mean, where do you stand as the head coach? I mean, would you do the same if it was the quarterback? I mean, did Zach really, Taylor say, hey, look, we got to get Burrow done, or McCarthy, we got to get Dak
because
done.
No one's worried about Dak not having a contract extension and having a gigantic cap number next year.
Yeah, and that's where management and ownership, they've gotten together and they've decided, hey, this is where we're going to draw the line. That's why the head coach has to have some say. It has to take some strong position, but they're not. Apparently, it seems like these clubs aren't letting these owners. I mean, these owners aren't letting these head coaches speak, or these head coaches don't feel they have a voice in all this, because you typically, as a head coach, and I think McCarthy may have made a statement, earlier this summer about Jerry Jones meddling a little bit too much, which kind of got out. But I don't see them really pushing hard for these two receivers, and these are two guys that are game changers. And so I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know if this is going to be, if they're going to just wait until the last final moment of training camp or preseason before they decide to pull the trigger.
Yeah,
Either
so
way.
I see Cincinnati not doing a thing with Jamar Chase, given the fact that they potentially still have him 2 years under team control in the way that they operate. I always felt that, CeeDee Lamb was going to get done, but it just seems like it's such an easy thing to figure out. If you need to up the guarantees a little bit, so be it. But you have, your franchise foundational pieces the next few years. CeeDee Lamb is one of those. Whether you believe you need to pay a wide receiver that much money or not, he's in that class.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons is the guy. Like, don't mess around when you have to start talking with him. There's certain things that just feels like check the box and move on. And you brought it up too, because at some point, he's an elite player, but you do practice for a reason. Yeah. There is training camp to ramp up and get ready for the season, and it brings up, like, if he tweaks his hamstring or his calf hurts or something, and then that happens early in the year, it lingers all season. These little things that just not being there, practicing, getting your body right. Because and you've been there, you've been in these camps, you know what it takes. Like, working out in the off season is different than practicing football ready for the season.
Right. But these owners don't want to set precedent with the money. They don't want to set this new paradigm when it comes to negotiation. And so they're kind of nostalgic about how things used to be done. This is how we've always done it. And they don't want to get caught in this new age or new way of trying to, create this money that's really not there, that they think, you have to do in order to keep these big time players. And so that's why I think they're fighting against those
battle
forces.
Back and forth. I think that the next one doesn't always have to be the biggest one. A player wants it to be. So I understand it from that perspective, but these are also a couple guys that they are going to get the biggest. Like, we're talking different level. We're not talking Brandon Ayuk versus $30 million per year. It's CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase.
But it's a stare down. They're trying to see who's going to break. So we're going to see who's going to break first.
It is, it's interesting. And just thinking about the value of a true wide receiver one. And when you have that pairing where Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, they've shown you championship ability. Yeah. They played a Super Bowl. They were right there with the Rams. Now, Dak Prescott, I think his pairing with CeeDee Lamb is elevated because the rest of the offense doesn't quite have it. You have Brandon Cooks. You have some young guys that are developing that Jerry Jones is really talking up, saying, hey, well, this is their opportunity. Jake Ferguson, I think, is a solid tight end, but I think, CeeDee Lamb's value is magnified in this case versus other places, because then you can also raise the question, well, if it was just all about elite wide receiver talent, why aren't we talking about the Vikings more? And it's fair. We know it's a team sport. These things work hand in hand. Sometimes the wide receivers elevate the quarterback. Sometimes the quarterback elevates the wide receivers. But should you just keep it simple when you have players of this caliber instead of creating something of a distraction that maybe doesn't need to be there in this case with CeeDee Lamb? 505-246-0610. Marty, you're on the opening drive. What's going on, Marty?
Hey, guys. On this one, I'm kind of on the Cowboys side. Only because I've seen, hear me out on this, I've seen all that dead cap money roll over the years, and it's put, people wonder, why don't the Cowboys do anything in free agency? I think they'd like to, just like any other team. And some of these teams are going to be in the same situation. If, a la 49ers, I always wonder how the Eagles get anybody signed, But in the future, the Cowboys have learned not to throw money, because what happens is it becomes dead cap money. Then, you're paying $30, $40 million a year to a bunch of guys that aren't even on the roster anymore. And they're not part of the, 53-man roster, so you're having to pay back sort of retroactive debt. So I think that's Stephen Jones' fear, more than Jerry, because I think Jerry will roll the dice with it. But Stephen Jones, in my opinion, has been running the team for some time. And I think he figures, enough of this, man. I can't do this. I can't have one guy strap me down in the future where I can't sign guys anymore. I don't think, personally, they get anything done with Dak this year. I really don't. I think CD will come in. He'll get signed probably this week, surely before the first game. But they got to be careful, and they'll probably front load that contract because they don't want to have a lot of dead cap money. Because I think, you look at the Joey Galloways, the Brandon Carrs, Leroy Glover in the second. There's been so many guys that they paid big money at and came back to bite them because they underperformed. And so in that sense, that's really good due diligence on the Cowboys side, in my opinion.
I appreciate the phone call, Marty. And you're right. This is a negotiation business. And when I look at the names you brought up, Brandon Carr, Joey Galloway, I think we know that the answer is I trust CeeDee Lamb. I don't think you're going to regret paying CeeDee Lamb. Now, I think the Cowboys are actually in a good position that Dak Prescott is saying, all right, I'm in. Don't worry about it. If he plays good, he knows he's getting a contract, regardless of whether it's the Cowboys or someone else. I think they're in a really good spot that Michael Parsons is showing up and playing and not trying to play this game. So they are getting guys that are bought into that. And I just look at certain players. And to me, if I'm Brandon Ayuk or if I'm the 49ers, I understand why I'm not just betting over Sam Brandon Ayuk. You're good, but there's so much more on that roster that you need to figure out. This one to me is just, it's easy, but it just feels like, okay, it's more of the same, the noise you get in a Cowboys offseason. But I appreciate that point. It's Marty, who's a Cowboys fan, that is seeing, hey, maybe this team is trying to take a different approach to signing. Do we all know the intricacies of a salary cap? No. Do we all kind of have a base understanding of it? We do. And I just think it's an interesting conversation right now, especially this offseason specifically, the timing of it for the big-time wide receiver deals from Justin Jefferson to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And a lot of it is just when you get your contract done and where your team is at. And the Cowboys are in a position where they have franchise players that need to be signed in CeeDee Lamb and Michael Parsons in the next year or two, plus trying to figure out the future with Dak Prescott. 505-246-0610. That is a Sports Animal hotline and text line this morning. Speaking of money, is Mike Gundy right, or does he need to look in the mirror when it comes to NIL and what he was talking about. And we have some numbers from a CBS Sports article in terms of college basketball coaches, what they're paying for players, and how we can kind of figure out what the market looks like. So we're hitting Mike Gundy. We're hitting what coaches are saying players are asking for when it comes to name, image, and likeness. That's next here on The Sports Animal.
Dirty Boys present Fill in the Holes. Albuquerque.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Mir here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team's going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space. And you can be part of it.
You make my heart better. Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Locked in, shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
Rudy's is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Teenagers love a party, especially during prom and graduation season. Often, alcohol is involved. Some parents think that hosting a party with alcohol in their home will keep the kids safe, but it's wrong and it's illegal. As a parent, to allow your teenagers' underage friends to consume alcohol on your property is a felony. Parents who host lose the most. Don't be a party to teenage drinking.
This is a program of the Drug Free Action Alliance. For more information, go to burnco.gov/do-not-host.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Hi, I'm Steve Stunker here for Dr. Robert Melendez and the Juliet Eye Institute. You may remember me like this, but no more. The glasses are gone. I tossed them months ago because of a brand new procedure from Dr. Melendez known as RLE, Refractive Lens Exchange. The latest technology, the best eyesight I've ever had in my life, and you can check it out by clicking on the link in the description right here.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
I was born in New Mexico. I grew up on these streets. I got in trouble here, and I fought my way back in boot camp. I love New Mexico, especially the people. Now I'm using my training, tenacity, and energy to fight for you.
I'm Adam Oakey, lawyer, fighter, and New Mexican.
I was a local athlete here in New Mexico, so I'm proud to support your local athletes.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast.
The great words, Wolf Barrel, Blades of Glory. And that's what name, image, and likeness is right now in college athletics. No one knows what it means, but it gets the people going. You talk to college fans about NIL, they got an opinion for you. Talk to student athletes, they're saying, yeah. And guess what? It's not enough. And you talk to coaches, and they're telling you, woo-wee. This is the hardest thing that they've had to deal with. But it's here. So what does it all mean? Well, I'm not entirely sure, other than players are getting paid. And name, image, and likeness equals pay for play. We got it. But what side do you come down on? And when we talk about contracts, you can be Dale Rivas and come back every single year saying, I need more money. There's contract years, which allow players to say, hey, I'm not playing on a 1-year deal. Extend me. But if you sign a contract, should you just be quiet for that year? The opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. We all have opinions on this, but there's not a strategy to it. Everyone is different. Every collective does things a little bit differently. These are not contracts that are made public unless someone wants to talk about it, unless an athlete wants to put it out there. And as you put it, Ned, there's a lot of lip service when it comes to name, image, and likeness. Who's paying who? What does the contract say? Is it a lump sum? Do you have incentives in there? It could be all the above. Based on how a collective operates. But so Mike Gundy, he's opinionated. He's boisterous. We can use the classic joke. I don't want to use it again because everyone's using it with Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State head football coach. Well, he said something that I appreciate, and how people were blasting him for it and go, well, you can't act like that. You're going to hurt someone's feelings. No, this is a name, image, and likeness era. You can't do that because guess what? People are blasting this on social media and recruiting against you. People are going to recruit against you for anything. Then be like, guess what? This guy jaywalked one time, and you want to go play for him? He's a jaywalker. This guy doesn't like dogs. You want to go play for someone that doesn't like dogs? Like, that's recruiting. They're going to do everything. But I was on board with Mike Gundy when he came out this week, and I don't think, by the way, this is hypocritical. And I'm going to lay out the story for you. So Mike Gundy came out, and he said, once this season starts, stop calling to renegotiate your NIL deal. He was telling that to his team. He's telling that to the agents or the handlers or whoever it may be that's calling the collective, that's calling the coaching staff saying, I want more money. He's saying, all right, the season started. You got your scholarship for this year. You signed whatever name, image, and likeness deal you had for this year. Stop calling me. And I'm okay with that. I think at some point in time, you have to set some standards because if these dudes want to get paid, you don't have pro athletes doing that all the time in season. Like, the season starts, your contract, go. Like, I'm on board with that style of Mike Gundy. And I think, yeah, Mike, I'm with you. But then there's the fact that Oklahoma State, they're putting QR codes on the players' helmets this year that will direct fans to a webpage where they can donate to the NIL collective. I like that. And I think both things can be true. I think once the season starts, at some point you got to stop being like, well, coach, I had a pick 6 last week, so I need $5,000. Like, at some point there has to be some, all right, yeah, you want to get paid, you want to be more professionally based. You don't see these guys every single week coming in asking to renegotiate the contract. So I agree with Mike Gundy on that. And I don't think then it's hypocritical, as some people have been pointing out, that, well, how can you be talking like they have QR codes on the helmet? Because you still need people to donate to the collective.
Right.
Because that's how they're getting paid. Now, if you want to insert things into NIL contracts, you can. Maybe put incentives in there then. If you want to say, all right, you want pay based on performance, well, here's your $50,000 for being an Oklahoma State player. And if you get 1,000 yards, there's an extra $15,000. Those are things you can do. And I think that's in the NIL collective world, the NIL world we're living in. I don't have a problem with a coach just trying to say, hey, once the season starts, like, no, we're not doing this. And I do think it's doing a disservice to the players acting like, well, this is the game and that's the way it should be played. No one does that. You don't see Patrick Mahomes throw for 6 touchdowns and then come back the next week and be like, I know you guys signed me to that contract, but I need to renegotiate my deal right now. So how do you feel about, is it hypocritical? Because I know people have been calling Mike Gundy out on this, saying, dude, you can't talk like this. You're going to upset people. You're going to lose players. No, they're saying once the season starts, you got to go play football at some point in time. That's why you're there. But then they're also giving you the opportunity, because some of these, I think I was reading too with the QR codes, like they feature the player's name and number in the design. So if you want to, you could essentially be just paying for that player, adding to his name, image, and likeness. Because there's, you're right, Ned. I'm babbling on. I'm going to let you come in here.
That's okay.
But it's like, this is one where I'm actually on Mike Gundy's side. I'm usually not on Mike Gundy's side, but I agree with him on this. Like, once the season starts, you got to start setting some boundaries, but you're still giving these kids opportunities with the QR code and continuing to build your collective.
Sure. Well, and this is the Wild Wild West. No one knows how these collectives or how this NIL program is going to work. They don't know where the guardrails are, because there is no legislation through the NCAA. There is no legislation through Congress. When the Supreme Court ruled that these student athletes are allowed to profit off their name, image, and likeness, there is no federal mandate. There is no federal coverage for all these universities. So it's up to the states. Individual states are the ones who dictate the rules. That's why these collectives are running the state legislators to get whatever their nonprofit license is in order to be able to pay players, because you're essentially buying players. And now these contracts are set up through the laws of the state, of particular states. I don't know if you can federally even sue based on these contracts. And so those are some of the issues. I mean, kids, even though kids are crossing state lines to sign and those sorts of things, it's a mess, because there is no standard for these colleges and universities. And the colleges and universities are essentially separated themselves from these collectives. These collectives are not tied to the universities. And that's what a lot of people believe. People believe that these student athletes at these universities are essentially being paid by the universities. And some people believe that they should be employees of the university and paid through the university. But that's not how it's working. And that's not how the universities are operating these things. And, the greatest case, and no one's talking about this case, is the case of the kid in Miami who was signed by the University of Miami for $8 million, decided he was not going to go to Miami because Florida had offered him $14.8 million. He goes to Florida. He's at Florida for a month, 2 months. Hey, where's my $1 million bonus? Whatever. Hey, we're going to kind of look at this and see. Wind up, they don't want to pay the guy. They don't think he's as good as they think. So they reneged on the contract. So you got all these contracts. Now he's suing. He's not suing the university because the university wasn't tied to the collective. He's suing the collective. He's suing the head football coach, and he's suing the athletic director. So these NIL entities and these collectives, no one knows the rules because every state is different. Coaches, collectives, people who are running the collectives or athletic directors, no one knows who's behind the curtain, who's pulling the strings, who's saying, hey, the kid's getting $1 million up front, who's saying that the kids are making $50,000 a week, $50,000 a month. They're getting paid over the course of a year. They're getting regular checks every 2 weeks. No one knows because there's no disclosure. This is free market enterprise. This is capitalism at its worst in some cases. But it's one of those things that we're going to have to wait and see because, everything's coming out in the wash. And whenever you have money involved, it always gets like this. Private equity is going to get involved at some point, and then you're really going to have a mess because then, they're going to be the ones that own these teams. And so that's where it comes down to who's managing the money. Alabama just gave a general manager $800,000, almost $1 million just to manage the collectives. And so how do you do that? Is that a university position? The university's paying someone to essentially be separated from the university?
Be a liaison?
Yeah. Well, I mean, these enterprises, they're calling these athletic departments enterprises now. They're not a part of the university. Or are they?
We don't know. It's how you play the game. But when it comes to trying to figure it out, I'm on board with Mike Gundy saying, hey, in season, let's stop. But the back and forth. So what kind of numbers are players looking at? It's different with smaller rosters. Basketball rosters are smaller. Those players going to ask for more money themselves, based on where they're at. So CBS Sports did a really good story on this, and we'll give you an idea of what kind of numbers are floating out there from the power conference teams to the mid-major basketball programs, and just trying to wrap our heads around where name, image, and likeness is right now. Friday night, though, a party's happening at Isotopes Park. It's Major League Baseball Home Run Derby X. We got 4 teams, 3 players. We're talking there's former professional Major League player. It's former, but these dudes are still in great shape because they just finished playing. Now, I think Manny Ramirez is going to be the wild card. What has Manny Ramirez been up to? Yeah, he can mash it, and he's Manny. But you also have Ryan Zimmerman, Mr. National. You got Ian Desmond. He won a Silver Slugger Award in baseball. He's still jacked, 38 years old. Johnny Gomes was hitting bomb, former World Series champion. They're going to be matched up with local talents. They got players from UNM, Eastern New Mexico. You have incredible softball players, legends, Alex Hugo, Alo, Andrea Howard. Like, it's going to be a party out there. MLB Home Run Derby X. We've heard Forrest talk about it. We've had great interviews with these former MLB stars about this, and it's happening Friday night. And we have a 4-pack of tickets to give away. We're jumping in.
4-pack, yes, sir.
4-pack of tickets
4-pack.
to Home Run Derby X this Friday night at Isotopes Park. It's just going to be an absolute party, having fun. They're going to be smashing homers in a different format. They're hitting from the third baseline out to the berm, and they have a specific target area where they're going to be mashing these home runs. They're going to have their team out there, the other teams trying to catch some of these fly balls line drive for points. It's different. It's fun. It's exciting. And let's go caller number 6 here on 610 The Sports Animal. AM side still. Caller number 6, 505-246-0610. You get yourself a 4-pack of tickets. Go to Home Run Derby X Friday night. Take the fam, take your friends, have a great time. 505-246-0610. You get yourself a 4-pack of tickets to MLB Home Run Derby X Friday night at Isotopes Park.
Dirty Boys present Fill in the Hole.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But it's the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Spout, get ready!
My coach, my teacher, my older sisters, my grandma, my brother, my tutor, my dad, and my mom.
As New Mexicans, it's up to all of us to do our part.
So that no child goes without love.
And no family has to do it all on their own.
They're all our children. Every single person is called to make a difference in the life of a child.
It's up to all of us to do our part.
To pull together.
Pull together.
Pull together.
To make New Mexico the best place to be a kid.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Miller here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team's going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space. And you can be part of it.
Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Locked in, shorty, you got my attention. See your baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
Young driver, this one. Hard to get her out. She'd been drinking. This one. Both of them gone. They'd been drinking, and he drove clear off the road. This was my family. Drunk driver hit us. And my wife and our daughter, they didn't make it.
I was born in New Mexico. I grew up on these streets. I got in trouble here, and I fought my way back in boot camp. I love New Mexico, especially the people. Now I'm using my training, tenacity, and energy to fight for you.
I'm Adam Oki, lawyer, fighter, and New Mexican. I was a local athlete here in New Mexico, so I'm proud to support your local athletes.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Everguard Roofing and Solar. For nearly 20 years, Everguard Roofing and Solar has been working with New Mexicans to enhance their homes and businesses. For all your roofing and solar needs in New Mexico, call 505-821-9543.
Hey, look! It's Dwight Goodman! Boom!
This place is hot. Let's see if anyone needs my help. How about I drive you madman home, huh?
I got this, Dwight. I'm the designated driver. Boom.
Sweet. Does anyone need Dwight's help getting home tonight?
No thanks, Romeo. I've got a taxi all lined up.
Drive safe, Dwight. Boom! Boom!
Teenagers love a party, especially during prom and graduation season. Often, alcohol is involved. Some parents think that hosting a party with alcohol in their home will keep the kids safe, but it's wrong and it's illegal. As a parent, to allow your teenagers' underage friends to consume alcohol on your property is a felony. Parents who host lose the most. Don't be a party to teenage drinking.
This is a program of the Drug Free Action Alliance. For more information, go to burnco.gov/do-not-host.
Foundation, yeah, it's hyper-focused on basketball. That's where they've made their biggest impact. But if you can continue to grow that brand overall, if Bronco Mendenhall gets a team out there that's competitive and wins some games, then more money will start coming in to the football side. And there was a story we were talking about yesterday from Silver Waves Media that they spent a couple months looking at the NIL landscape. And they kind of pinpointed who they believe are the 70 most influential people right now in name, image, and likeness game. Kurt Roth was one of those 70. So that feels pretty good if you're the University of Mexico when it comes to name, image, and likeness with the 505 Sports Venture Foundation. But then you also just get, like, what are we looking at then? Well, CBS Sports, and so we're shifting, we're talking about Mike Gundy and players asking for stuff in season. Well, we can start putting some numbers on it when it comes to basketball and just kind of start building our idea of wrapping your mind around what's going into name, image, and likeness. But CBS Sports did a story where they spent a couple months over the summer. They do their annual Candid Coaches series, and they talk to 100 coaches across Division I basketball. That's a pretty good sample size, even when there's 300 plus. But they hit some power coaches and assistants, and then some mid-major to low major. So you got to get a sense across the board of what they're doing. And so one of the things was, what is the most amount of money someone has asked for your staff to pay? 10% of the respondents said $2 million or more for a player. 40% said between $1 and $2 million, and 49% said less than $1 million. So you can kind of get a sense of where these coaches are. The 49% of the coaches who answered the question told us that most of their NIL money they've been asked to provide as a player is less than $1 million. But one thing worth noting is that 75% of the coaches who answered that way worked outside of the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, ACC, and Big East. So you kind of get an idea of, this is how it's structured. How, quote unquote, big name teams and power conferences, those players are going to be asking for more NIL money versus the bottom amount. So you can kind of in your head start tearing that out. And we've heard some of the numbers at UNM come out, 6 figures for players. But I think when you kind of just start piecing it together, you kind of get a sense of what we're doing, because there is no one size fits all. It's just about how much money fans give to your collective is how much money you can give out at this point in time. And I just think it's really interesting to just try to put some figures on it, because you've talked about this all the time, Nib. And I think now you realize that you can talk all you want. You can say you want to do this, that, and the other. It's the Wild West, and everyone can do whatever they want. And that's why, even if Mike Gundy's frustrated about players coming in, why at the same time they have to put QR codes on the helmet. At the same time, if you look at the Lobos and any post they put out, what's one of the hashtags? Hashtag 505 SVF. Yeah. It's always about playing this game. And I think when people just get an understanding of kind of what some of the numbers are looking at, what coaches are dealing with, and say, all right, it's here. How comfortable are you with it? you'll figure that out. But I thought it was interesting too, just seeing some of the numbers, and yeah, it's kind of goes in line with what you'd expect of power conference teams versus lower conference teams. But it doesn't matter. Like if you're coaching at Nowhere State U, you're a Division I university, you're still gonna have players asking you for money.
Right.
Got to figure it out.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to figure it out. That's the key word. You're gonna have to figure it out, and it's here. I mean, people are, having their heads buried in the sand if they believe that private equity is not getting involved. If these corporations who want to have certain images attached to their corporation, if they want to sports wash their money, you can do it. I mean, you can have some Saudi-backed funds come into college athletics, and Sheik Mo is at practice, watching practice, because he's got $2 million that he can put on someone's NIL or someone's collective in order to have a brand that he could say that is his own. And there's a lot of denial in this. There's universities that are in denial that these collectives are now establishing ownership of these clubs. If you could say, hey, I just want to help, but at the same time, it's your money, and when you're giving out your money, you're calling the shots essentially. And there's some rules, there's some things that come attached with that money, and we have to all realize that. And sure, there's a tier system based on the numbers that you're giving out, there's the math of money, and so there's guys getting paid at a certain time, and certain groups are getting paid at a certain level. But at the same time, there's no disclosure. There's no way of finding out what's what and how that money is getting to these young men and who's delivering the money in some cases.
You just know it's there. They're asking for it. And one of the coaches in the CBS Sports story said, quote, "I used to have a good NIL package, about $2.5 million. Sounds like pretty good money."
Yeah.
All right, $2.5 million. You're spreading this out. And then he said, that used to be good. But man, it's nothing compared now. SEC Big 12 schools, it says they're spending $6 to $7 million in a transfer portal. So that's what it takes now to compete at that level.
If you're going into the transfer portal, it's like free agency.
Yeah.
You're going to have a number in mind. Once you know that transfer portal opens and you're bidding with agents, and now it was against the law. It was illegal for agents to be on college campuses. Now they're taking classes. They're sitting in the front row with guys, and everybody's trying to, solicit guys to be their agents. And, it's unfortunate because college athletics is changing. The landscape is changing. I don't necessarily believe that, these power schools are going to have an advantage because, the rules are based off of states. It's not based federally. You can, depending on what state you're in, or depending what the rules are, you can basically, offer guys whatever you want, and you can pull guys from whatever teams. And agents are everywhere. They're going to be on every campus because they're going to see which guys value are the greatest, and they're going to go after those guys. These big sports agencies are going to try to get into this business before someone else takes it over. Someone else comes up with an idea of how to manage and take care of players while they're on college campuses. And I'm seeing this idea that guys are getting 4-year deals. Are they giving up scholarships? Are you having walk-on guys with $1 million contracts, and then you just give the scholarship to someone else? This guy can pay his own way. It's those kind of things that I heard over in BYU. Everybody's on scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
And the NCAA says you can't do that. We got Title IX rules. We got all this, and they're like, okay, we'll see you in court. Because of NIL, they could just say, hey, everything's being paid through NIL. We don't necessarily have scholarships anymore. So it's really kind of an interesting ordeal. We're going to still play college football this year. The NCAA is still running college football, whether you believe it or not, based on the rules of academics. These are still academic institutions, although they're still mirroring financial institutions now, banks, because they have so much money. So we'll see what happens this season.
505-246-0610 Sports Animal Hotline and text line this morning. Just try to put some bullet points out there. We're talking name, image, and likeness, and what college basketball coaches are telling you, and then how that could roll over to college football season when you have Mike Gundy out there speaking. I think he does have a good point. I do think at some point in time, you do have to say, all right, season started. Unless it's in your NIL deal, if you want to put incentives in it, go for it, because you can negotiate whatever you want between these collectives and these players. But just having an idea of what's going on when it comes to name, image, and likeness. It's the opening drive here on The Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks. Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Sweet Rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction safety company is helping our men and women in construction get home safe every day to their families. Indeed Safety is a proud supporter of ProView Network.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Everguard Roofing and Solar. For nearly 20 years, Everguard Roofing and Solar has been working with New Mexicans to enhance their homes and businesses. For all your roofing and solar needs in New Mexico, call 505-821-9543.
Young driver, this one. Hard to get her out. She'd been drinking. This one. Both of them gone. They'd been drinking, and he drove clear off the road. This was my family. Drunk driver hit us. And my wife and our daughter, they didn't make it.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
For your business or your home, Valley Fence stands alone. We're number 1 in New Mexico for a reason. It's the best fence you can own. Proudly serving New Mexico for over 50 years. At Valley Fence, the difference is clear. No fence too big, too small, or difficult. We handle them all.
Teenagers love a party, especially during prom and graduation season. Often, alcohol is involved. Some parents think that hosting a party with alcohol in their home will keep the kids safe, but it's wrong and it's illegal. As a parent, to allow your teenagers' underage friends to consume alcohol on your property is a felony. Parents who host lose the most. Don't be a party to teenage drinking.
This is a program of the Drug Free Action Alliance. For more information, go to burnco.gov/do-not-host.
The wide receivers, but it's been all about money.
I feel yucky already talking about
I don't know. I would like to know if money could buy happiness. I want to try it once.
You want to try it?
I want to try it. If money can't buy happiness. Well, let me at least try it once and we'll see. And then I'll give you the answer. If money can buy happiness or not. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck, our quarterback, Ned James. He'll be on the sidelines once again Saturday as Montana State. Just crazy. Like, I know Montana State, they have been good over the last few years. Number 4 in the FCS preseason poll. If you pull up that scoreboard, 11.5-point underdogs. And it's got to put a chip on his shoulder because they're on social media. They're going to have people talking to them about it. Just in terms of the atmosphere from the team. You know, those players taking the field on Saturday, 0 week. Yes, it's the first game of the season, but you're also getting a national spotlight. You're only one of 4 games on Saturday. You got a national telecast. Of course, we'll be with you over on News Radio KKOB, UNM Sports Radio Network. But if people are looking for football, 2 o'clock on Saturday, that's on Fox Sports 1. Not between games, it's the Lobos and Montana State. What do you expect the attitude of Lobo football, the players to be on Saturday?
No, I think the players are going to be excited. I think they're going to. I mean, people don't realize that these players read the paper. They know that they're underdogs, and they know this is a nationally ranked team. And they're going to be the only show in town. Now, there's some NFL preseason stuff that's going to be played as well during that time slot. But people are going to say, "Hey, college football started." People who are fans of college football are going to watch, and these young men understand and know that, and it's their time to shine. And they really believe that, hey, look, nobody knows us. We're a dark horse, and we're not even favored. We're not going to. There's nothing that anybody thinks positive about this team because of the record the last couple of years. We're going to come out and we're going to show out. They believe they're talented enough to win this game, and that's how you play. You play to win, and so they're going to try to do everything they can possible. It's just, to me, I'm curious to see how this team comes together defensively. I kind of have an idea where they're going to be offensively, but I want to see how they come together defensively and special teams, particularly the kicking game. You've got to be able to kick. Whatever UNM has ever been successful, they've had a really good special teams, and so that's going to be important for me to see on Saturday. So
Luke Dreswicki, the place kicker. Charles Steinkamp still handling kickoffs. Aaron Rodriguez back there bombing punts.
Freshman long snapper.
Freshman long. So, see, this is the things when we're going through the depth chart. Why do you wait till the final 3 minutes of the show to talk about the long snapper? But there you go.
Yeah, Hiram Hatch. But these guys are they're trained. They're prepared. Coaches wouldn't put them in there if they didn't think they were ready to play. And so, guys that develop, and guys, you never know how a guy's going to play until you get him in the game. And so those are the little things in the game that, the game within the game that people have to really look for. And it shows up in these big spots. It's going to show up for both teams. So we'll see from both teams.
When you're a coach and it's the first game of the season, kind of what were your expectations? What were the things you were looking for just early from a team the first time those lights come on?
I want to see the lines. Who's going to impose their will on which team? So is my defensive line and my offensive line, are they going to be the more aggressor? Are they going to be the more physical part? And then I'm looking for the kicker. The first guy on the bus is the long snapper, because you don't want guys being ball snapped over guys' heads and those kind of things happening, because that really changes the field position, changes the game. So it's those kind of little things that you look for in the first game. You want to see if everything's tight as far as substitution, penalties, those hidden yardage with penalties and guys, false starting and those kind of things. Those are little things that you look for. And I'm sure, Bronco's going to take note of it. I mean, he's got his list of things that he looks for, in opening games, and so I'm sure he's had many years where he's had the opening game, but he's been out of it 2 years, so he's got to get his land legs, back on the sideline. He may have some sea legs, he may be a little wobbly to start off since he's been out for a while, and like I told Bronco when he first came back here, I says, we're kind of the old cats now, we're not those young whippersnapper coaches like we used to be, so he's gonna. It'll be interesting to see how he responds with this first week after being out for 2 years himself. So.
Well, he touched on it too Monday when we were sitting there at the press conference. Like, he wants to be a little bit more, like, I wouldn't say reserved, but he wants to make sure his coordinators, everyone else, is getting things done. But it's one thing to hear a head coach say that, and it's another thing when they're on the sideline. It's like, you're the head coach. You're going to make sure,
especially
that your message gets across.
Especially when you've been out of it for a little while. When they say set hike, the butterflies are going to be there. So we'll see.
All right, so it's 2:00 Saturday, University Stadium, Montana State in town, and it's going to be a good test because this is a quality Montana State program. 11.5, it just still seems crazy. They're coming in, but they'll have expectations, and on their side, the hype, they're favored, they're double-digit.
Get a little tight when you get
favorites, and it'll be interesting to see. We'll break down a lot more of this game too tomorrow. Lobos, Montana State. Ned, appreciate it. Yeah. See you tomorrow. Yeah. That's our quarterback, Ned James. Jerry, thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Coming in, holding it down back there, Adrian, on Pro View Network. We've got the Jim Rome Show coming up next. Colin Cowherd at 1. 2 men on. At 4 o'clock, takes you up to Isotopes, Baseball Topes in Sugarland. Josh Ushine will take over after that. We're back tomorrow at 7 a.m., everybody. Mineral, peace, and love. Have a great day.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Hi, I'm Steve Stunkler here for Dr. Robert Melendez and the Juliet Eye Institute. You may remember me like this, but no more. The glasses are gone. I tossed them months ago because of a brand new procedure from Dr. Melendez known as RLE, Refractive Lens Exchange. The latest technology, the best eyesight I've ever had in my life, and you can check it out by clicking on the link in the description right here.
These days, it's important to know people and businesses you can trust. There's a lot of places where you can buy a vehicle, but there's only a few local dealerships where you'll find honest people who have your best interests in mind. And Fiesta Kia is one of them. We've been helping our neighbors save money and drive dependable cars for years, and we'd love to help you. With new Kias arriving daily, you'll love our selection and the peace of mind you'll get driving a Kia from Fiesta. So stop by and see us today at Fiesta Kia on Lomas, or just start driving now at fiestakia.com.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But it's the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Sprout, get ready!